Chapter 631. The eagle-like figure landed on the ground with a deafening crash, causing the entire city wall to shake a few times. Novel! Soon after, the army arrived in an aggressive manner. Ling Xiao, hurry up and come out to die. Do you really want me to destroy the entire Tianfeng city? The one standing at the front of the army should be the Whale Island Master. This person was tall and sturdy, standing at 5 to 6 meters tall. He held a trident in his hand and roared like a fiend. Do you need something from me? Ling Xiao stood on top of the city wall and looked at this big guy with a smile that wasn't a smile. There was a hint of ridicule on his face. When the big guy saw Ling Xiao, his expression changed drastically, and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. At this moment, Ling Xiao didn't hide his cultivation and fully displayed his early-stage Transcendent Realm 9th layer cultivation. However, this kind of aura could only be felt by cultivators of the Transcendent Realm. You're the Whale Island Master? I thought you were some amazing character. A mere peak Transcendent Realm 8th layer cultivation actually dares to cause trouble in Tianfeng City? Ling Xiao coldly snorted, and a powerful aura rushed towards the Whale Island Master. The Whale Island Master retreated again and looked at Ling Xiao in horror, roaring, "Brat, your cultivation is indeed higher than mine, but this is Northern Han, the territory of the Yuehua School. If you dare to touch me, the Yuehua School won't let you off." Yuehua School? Don't tell me you're a disciple of the Yuehua School. Ling Xiao had never heard of such a disciple in the Yuehua School. Although this island master isn't a disciple of the Yuehua School, Whale Island belongs to the Yuehua School and has to pay tribute every month. If something happens to Whale Island, the Yuehua School will definitely send experts over. The Whale Island Master said proudly, "This is going to be difficult." Ling Xiao stroked his chin. Originally, he wanted to use a thunderous method to kill the invading Whale Island Master. However, since this person was someone from the Yuehua School, it wasn't appropriate for him to do so. Are you afraid, kid? I won't make things difficult for you. As long as you compensate us with some spiritual stones and apologize to Whale Island, we won't owe each other anything. Whale Island's Island Master thought that Ling Xiao seemed to be in a difficult position because he thought that Ling Xiao was afraid. He immediately became complacent. However, he was still wary of Ling Xiao's strength, so he didn't dare to ask for too much. He just wanted to give himself a way out. "Master, he killed 2 of my senior brothers. Is it over just like that?" Beside him was the young man who had mingled in the Divine Sword Sect's disciple recruitment ceremony. He was also the one who told the Whale Island Master about what had happened here. "Shut up!" Whale Island Master shouted sternly. He was afraid that his disciple would provoke this expert in front of him. One must know that others would give face to the Yuehua School and not make an enemy out of you. However, if you went too far, there would still be ruthless people who would dare to destroy you and then flee. The Yuehua School wouldn't make a big fuss over a subsidiary sect. Afraid? Ling Xiao couldn't help but laugh. Since when did a subsidiary sect of the Yuehua School dare to be rude to an official disciple of the Yuehua School? What? Whale Island Master wasn't a fool. After hearing Ling Xiao's words, how could he not understand what Ling Xiao meant? "Sir, are you an inner disciple of the Yuehua School?" Ling Xiao didn't explain. He just casually tossed out a token. It flickered in midair, and 4 words were engraved on it. "Core Disciple." Plop. Seeing these 4 words, Whale Island Master directly knelt on the ground, his body trembling with fear. Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. He actually didn't make a move. Instead, he used a token to make Whale Island Master kneel. This was too amazing. This subordinate is a core disciple. I hope Senior Brother Ling can forgive me. After saying that, Whale Island Master looked at Ling Xiao with fear, afraid that Ling Xiao would suddenly kill him. Although he was only at the 8th level of the Transcendent Realm, if he provoked a core disciple of the Yuehua School, Even if the core disciple was weaker than him, his entire whale island would be destroyed. A core disciple wasn't just a symbol of strength, but also a symbol of authority. If something happened to a core disciple, the Yuehua school would spare no expense to avenge the core disciple, unless they encountered an insurmountable difficulty. As for him, Whale Island Master, he didn't have the qualifications to provoke such a terrifying existence. This was like a county magistrate seeing a prince on an inspection tour. Unless he didn't want to live anymore, who would dare to provoke him? What's going on? I don't understand either. But it seems like the Divine Sword Sect Master is an incredible figure. Even that big demon is afraid of him. This is too strange. So we don't have to die. Die my ass. From the looks of it, with the Divine Sword Sect's protection, Sky Peak City will be safer than Sky Cloud City. Our Sky Peak City will probably become a treasure land in the future. Every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. The citizens of Sky Peak City were naturally overjoyed. The Divine Sword Sect's disciples were also extremely proud. Hurry up and get your men to scram. As for you, I still have some questions. You can leave after you're done. Ling Xiao said indifferently. This subordinate obeys. Whale Island's Island Master stood up and waved his hand behind him. The aggressive Whale Island disciples left the same way they had come, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Senior Brotherling, do you have any questions? At this moment, Ling Xiao had already descended from the city tower and was outside the city with Whale Island Master. Did anything strange happen near Whale Island recently? Ling Xiao asked. Senior Brotherling, are you here to complete the sect's mission? Whale Island Master was enlightened. Yes, a strange foggy area has appeared on the sea recently. Once you enter, you won't be able to come out. It's extremely terrifying. To tell you the truth, there was once a practitioner with a similar cultivation level as Senior Brother who went in and didn't come out. Got it. Ling Xiao nodded indifferently. Senior Brotherling, there's something that might upset you, but I still have to say it, Whale Island's Island Master said solemnly. Say it. Your cultivation is too weak. According to the level of this mission, it's best for a half-step Heavenly Venerable to head in. Otherwise, you won't be able to come out alive. Whale Island Master said. He seemed to have something he couldn't say, but what he said was the truth. Ling Xiao was only at the early stage of the Transcendent Realm 9th layer. To complete a 10-star mission was truly overestimating himself. Half-step, Heavenly Venerable? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. You don't have to worry about it. Since I accepted this mission, I can complete it. Do you think that the sect's upper echelons have better foresight than you? No, I wouldn't dare. Whale Island Master thought about it and agreed. Since the sect had sent Ling Xiao, it meant that Ling Xiao had a way to complete this mission. Otherwise, there was another possibility. Someone in the sect wanted Ling Xiao to disappear. But no matter which possibility it wasn't something a small character like him could interfere with. The only thing he could do was follow orders. Then I wish Senior Brotherling success, Whale Island Master said. Chapter 632. By the way, was it your idea for your disciple to cause trouble in the Divine Sword Sect? Why did you do that? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. I wouldn't dare to lie to Senior Brotherling. This was an order given by Sect Master Chan Yueying. Within the Yuehua School's territory, no other sect is allowed to rise, so, Chan Yueying? She's no longer the Yuehua School's Sect Master. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. You can go back. Ling Xiao coldly snorted. This subordinate obeys. The Whale Island Master couldn't wait to escape from this place. Ling Xiao's aura was simply too terrifying. He didn't want to stay by Ling Xiao's side for even a moment longer. As soon as he left, Ling Xiao followed closely behind. This Whale Island Master was clearly hiding something. He had to get to the bottom of it. Since the Whale Island Master didn't want to talk about it, Then following him was the best method. With Ling Zhao's cultivation and the mysterious cloud dragon divine travel, not to mention the Whale Island Master. Even if he were to follow a more powerful half-step heavenly venerable, he might not be discovered. Even in the daytime, Ling Zhao's figure was faintly discernible, almost disappearing from the ground. Unless one's cultivation was extremely powerful, it would be impossible to detect even the slightest trace of his aura. And that was when he could move. If he stood there without moving, with the help of the Mountain River Martial Spirits model, he could completely make himself look like a tree. Even if it was a Heaven Realm expert or a Grotto Heaven Realm expert, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. The Whale Island Master's speed was very fast. Although he had a large body, his movement technique was very outstanding. With a single glide, he could cover a distance of more than 10 meters. If it was an early stage, Transcendent Realm 9th level cultivator, they might not be able to keep up. Only Ling Xiao could keep an eye on the Whale Island Master while concealing his aura. Approximately 15 minutes later, the two of them were already several dozen kilometers away from Tianfeng City. The Whale Island Master boarded a ship and headed in the direction of Whale Island. Ling Xiao did not use a boat. He directly cut off a piece of wood and threw it into the sea. Then he stepped on it and glided over. His speed was even faster than the boat. In any case, the sea was calm and there were no signs of strong winds or waves. He didn't have to worry about being overturned by a wave. Even though he'd lived in Tianfeng City for a very long time, to be honest, he'd never been to the sea even once. The furthest place he'd been to was merely Dragon Gate Harbor. The air on the sea was much fresher than on land, and the spiritual qi was even denser. However, it was filled with a sense of crisis, and no one dared to be careless. Soon they arrived at Whale Island. Whale Island Master arrived at his Island Master's residence. Ling Xiao followed him in. "Big Whale, you're finally back. I heard that you met a core disciple of the Yuehua School in Tianfeng City." The one who welcomed the Whale Island Master was none other than Su Dao, whom Ling Xiao had met before. This fellow was Su Ying's father, as well as her master. Su Dao wasn't a disciple of the Yuehua School. Since this fellow was together with Whale Island Master, he most likely had some unspeakable secret. "Brother Su, let's not waste time talking. Hurry up and inform the Yin Yang Demon King that a core disciple of the Yuehua School might be heading towards the fog region." Whale Island Master said anxiously, "What's there to be afraid of? Even if he can enter, can he come out? You should know better than us what's in the fog region. That's the vanguard of our Storm Legion. The hateful laws of the mystic world prevent our Sea Race Alliance from entering the land en masse. However, our Lord Sea God still found a loophole. Our first step is to devour the entire Heavenly Dragon continent. The Storm Legion is the army of our Sea Race Alliance. Why would we be afraid of a mere core disciple of the Yuehua School?" Su Dao sneered. "Aren't you ninjas a branch of the human race?" Whale Island Master said with a smile, "Why would you be willing to help our Storm Legion?" "Nonsense. The ninjas have already intermarried with many other clans of the sea race. The noble bloodline of the sea race flows in our veins. What are humans? They're just inferior life forms." Su Dao snorted coldly. "Regardless, let's inform the Yin Yang Demon King first. He's the general of the Storm Legion's vanguard." Whale Island Master said solemnly, "All right, I'll go inform him. However, I still don't understand. Why would the Yin Yang Demon King help us?" Su Dao asked. "Ha ha ha, you still don't know, right? The so-called True Devil Empire is actually the first invasion of the human world by the Sea Race Alliance. The True Devil Emperor is an expert of our sea race. His subordinates are all well-known experts of the deep sea. The Yin Yang Demon King is naturally no exception." Whale Island Master laughed heartily. "What?" Hearing this, Ling Xiao was incomparably shocked. In the traditional human world, when people mention the mystic world, they would mostly think of the 13 separate continents and would overlook the existence of the Storm Legion. From the looks of it, they were gravely mistaken. It turned out that there was such a powerful race in the deep sea. It was just that they were restricted by the mystic world's laws and couldn't enter the land on a large scale. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon continent would have been completely invaded by the sea race. The true Devil Emperor was merely one of the sea race's experts. Yet, he almost caused the once incomparably powerful sacred dynasty of the human race to decline completely. Then what about the other sea race experts? It was truly unimaginable. I didn't expect the Yin-Yang Demon King to be from the sea race. The true Devil Empire was actually created by the sea race. This is simply too shocking. All right, I'll go inform the Yin-Yang Demon King now. Su Dao leaped away. Ling Xiao didn't hesitate. He abandoned Whale Island Master and chased after Su Dao. After all, Whale Island Master was just a small character. Taking care of him could be done at any time. The Yin-Yang Demon King behind the scenes was the real deal. One of the 9 great demon kings of the true Devil Empire. Ling Xiao had already eliminated the Plague Demon King and the Evil Beast Demon King. He didn't expect to encounter the Yin-Yang Demon King now. It was truly fate. He had actually entered the mist. Ling Xiao stopped. At this moment, the surface of the sea was covered by a strange fog. The fog covered an extremely large area, making it impossible to see what was going on inside. He could only faintly feel the terrifying aura coming from within. Enter or leave? Ling Xiao was once again faced with a choice that concerned his safety. He could return to the sect and inform the Yuehua school of what happened here. However, he might miss out on some opportunities if he did so. After all, most of the time opportunities and dangers came together. It was better to enter. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. He still had a 9-tailed demon fox seal card with him. Even if he encountered a celestial realm elite, he would still be able to fight it out. Moreover, this thick fog was only the Storm Corps' outpost. Normally, outposts wouldn't be too strong. The laws of the mystic world stipulated that if the races in the deep sea were too strong or too many, they wouldn't be allowed to enter the land. When the true Devil Emperor first appeared, he wasn't as strong as the human race's sacred master. However, this guy's talent was too powerful, and his speed of improvement was too fast. That was why he was able to pose such a huge threat to the human race. In terms of soul power, Yang Kai had always been confident he wouldn't lose to anyone in the transcendent realm because the strength of his soul was comparable to a heaven realm master. Crack! Following the collision of soul powers, the other party's soul ripples seemed to be torn apart, bypassing Ling Xiao and moving in opposite directions. Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, but there was still some fear in his heart. The strength of this sea race demon general didn't seem to be particularly strong. His cultivation was about the same as Tantai Lingzi's, belonging to a half-step heavenly venerable. However, his soul power was comparable to a heaven realm master. It wasn't inferior to Ling Xiao at all. If it weren't for the fact that the other party's soul power was too scattered, Yang Kai wouldn't have been able to find a breakthrough. He might have been destroyed by this powerful soul power. The human race is a very large race. In a narrow sense, only the sacred dynasty of the Heavenly Dragon continent consists of the human race. The Blue Eyes race, the Ninja race, and the Barbarian race. However, in a broad sense, I'm afraid that all of the 13 continents can be considered as the human race, including the soul race. Ling Xiao thought to himself, the sea race is the same. Although they are collectively known as the sea race, they're probably the same as the human race. They include thousands of different races, and there is no lack of races that specialize in soul attacks like the soul race. This demon general is one of them. Although his analysis wasn't accurate, it wasn't far off. Strictly speaking, besides the great desolate beasts, the human race and the sea race shared a common ancestor. It was just that one went to the land while the other went to the sea, thus giving rise to completely different civilizations. However, these matters involved ancient secrets. With Ling Xiao's current level, he wasn't qualified to know. He didn't know either. "What's wrong, Lord Demon General?" Su Dao asked, puzzled. "It's probably just my imagination." The Demon General shook his head. "All right, you can go back. Remember, go to the Demon Citadel and find the Citadel Master. Only he can send you out. As for that brat you mentioned, if he dares to come in, I guarantee that he won't be able to return." This subordinate obeys. Although Su Dao was puzzled, he still turned and left. "I also need to go back. Just now, it was probably just my imagination." The Demon General had always been very confident in his soul probing abilities. As long as his soul lamp lit up, there wouldn't be any living thing in the surroundings that could escape his soul ripple search. Unless that fellow's soul force was stronger than his. But he felt that this was impossible. In the entire Demon Citadel, there wasn't anyone with a soul force stronger than his, let alone those stupid humans outside. "It seems that I haven't been discovered." Ling Xiao nodded to himself and heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't want to make a big fuss as soon as he came in, because if his whereabouts were to be exposed, then he wouldn't be able to find anything. At that time, the unlucky one would naturally be himself. Asterisk bang. Asterisk suddenly, in the thick black fog, a bright sword light flashed, and a figure fell from the sky. In that instant, the entire black forest trembled a few times. A Heaven Realm expert? It seemed to be a one-line sky realm martial artist. And if he didn't guess wrong, it should be someone from the Sword King sect. Only an expert from the Sword King sect would have such an abundant and terrifying sword light. When Ling Xiao saw that sword light, he instantly analyzed a lot of information. Although he still didn't know why a Heaven Realm expert from the Sword King sect would also break into the fog. Since he was here, it was advantageous for him. At the very least, this martial artist could help him probe the situation of this demon citadel. Asterisk Kacha. Asterisk the ground cracked open, and a sword light fell to the ground. Then, a white-haired figure appeared there. He stood there like a sharp sword that had been unsheathed. Beside him, there was a youth of about 16 or 17 years old. His cultivation was actually 30% of a half-step Empyrean. At this level, if placed in the Yuehua school, he would definitely be ranked in the top 3 of the top 10 core disciples. The youth's blue hair stood up high, giving off a very strange feeling. But he was obviously missing one of his arms. Damn it! How could a Heaven Realm expert break in? Could it be that Su Dao that fellow led him here? The Sea Race Demon General cursed and dodged the attack of the sword light. Then he stared at the two people. Chapter 634. Master, this is the guy who killed my parents. You must avenge your disciple. The green-haired youth's eyes were filled with grief. Obviously, he wasn't lying. His parents must have been killed by the Sea Race's Demon General. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked his master to come here to seek revenge. However, these two are too reckless. You want to seek revenge without even knowing the situation? Do you really think you can do whatever you want just because you're a Heaven Realm powerhouse? Moreover, you're just a one-line sky cultivator who just entered the Heaven Realm. Although the Sea Race's Demon General was nervous, he didn't choose to run away. The strange lantern above his head flickered again. This time, it didn't release soul ripples, but a dazzling white light that shot directly at the old man and the green-haired youth. Soul attack. The old man frowned as cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. It seemed that resisting this soul attack was a bit strenuous for him. If it was strenuous for him, then it was impossible for him to protect the youth beside him. The youth let out a mournful scream and fell to the ground. The old man was furious. Although he wasn't as good as the Demon General in terms of soul power, he was much stronger in terms of cultivation and strength. With a roar, a sword light flew out from the long sword in his hand. It turned into a huge sword light that enveloped an area of several hundred square meters, including the Sea Race's Demon General. In an instant, All the trees within several hundred square meters were destroyed by the sword light. The sea race's demon general also vomited blood. Fortunately, he wasn't directly hit by the sword light. Otherwise, with his half-step heavenly venerable strength, he would have died. This was the terror of the heaven realm. The gap between the heaven realm and the transcendent realm was too big. It wasn't something that soul power could make up for. Who are you? How do you know the soul race's secret technique? The old man from the Sword King's sect looked solemn and worried. You don't need to know, because you're going to die soon. Another powerful aura came from afar. Fort Master. When the sea race's demon general saw who it was, he was delighted. Cooperate with me and kill this old thing. The Fort Master of the demon fort was a 90% half-step heavenly venerable. He was definitely no match for the old man from the Sword King sect. However, if the demon general cooperated, it would be different. The old man was in trouble. You want to kill this old man? You? The old man from the Sword King sect was filled with disdain. Hee, you old thing, you don't even know that you're about to die, Deng Xiao. What are you waiting for? The Sea Clan demon general chuckled and suddenly shouted. The cyan-haired young man who had fainted on the ground suddenly stood up and stuck a strange secret method scroll on the back of the old man from the Sword King sect at lightning speed. Yin and Yang reversal, memory change, control. At this moment, the demon castle protector shouted. The secret scroll behind the old man emitted a black and white light that enveloped his entire body. No. The old man was clearly anxious. He pushed his true essence to the limit in an attempt to break free from this situation. However, with the control of the scroll and the soul attack of the sea race demon general, he simply couldn't push his true essence to the limit. After a short while, a blood-red light flashed in the eyes of the old man from the Sword King sect. Congratulations, Castle Lord, for your victory. The sea race demon general laughed. This old man isn't easy to deal with. If it weren't for the secret scroll left by the Yin-Yang Demon King, I wouldn't have been able to control him. Of course, the Deng Xiao you prepared in advance also played a key role. The Lord of the Demon Fortress laughed. The so-called Deng Xiao should be the cyan-haired youth. At this moment, Ling Xiao noticed that there was a strange ball of light in the youth's neck. It was this thing that controlled the youth's every move. Go back. When you reach the Sword King sect, don't act rashly for the time being. Wait for orders. The castle lord waved his hand, and the two people from the Sword King sect, one old and one young, turned into white light and disappeared. Ling Xiao could feel that it should be a kind of formation. The only person who could control this formation was the castle lord. No wonder the sea race demon general said that only the castle lord could send people out of here. Castle lord, you're really wise. You deliberately led that old man in and set up such a trap for him. Now, we have another puppet in the 12 sects, and a high-level puppet at that. This general has consumed too much energy and may go into seclusion for the next few days. That person called Ling Xiao. I'll leave him to you. Is that all right? The castle lord stood up and asked. Rest assured, castle lord, he's just a trivial early-stage transcendent realm cultivator. I can easily deal with him. There's no need for castle lord to worry. The sea race demon general said confidently. Then I'll leave him to you. The demonic castle lord nodded and leaped into the air, disappearing into the black forest. The sea race demon general sat cross-legged on the ground, planning to recover from his injuries. He had just been injured by the Sword King sect's old man's sword, and his injuries were not light. However, at that moment, a sword light suddenly pierced through the forest. The sea race demon general was shocked. He had clearly investigated his surroundings and didn't find anyone, so how could he have been attacked? Shocked, he forcibly activated his soul lamp, creating a powerful soul vibration that actually deflected Ling Xiao's sword light. Originally, the sword light should have pierced his throat, but now it only scratched the skin on his neck. However, blood still flowed out. "Bastard! You dare to sneak attack this general? Get out here!" The sea race demon general was furious. He had actually been sneak attacked in the demon castle. If this matter were to spread, he would lose a lot of face. A figure walked out of the forest. The sea race demon general looked at this guy vigilantly. From the information Su Dao had just described, this person was Ling Xiao. "Good boy, I didn't expect you to be able to sneak into the demon castle without being discovered. I really underestimated you." The sea race demon general coldly snorted, his soul lamp flashing again, and a white light shot towards Ling Xiao. Just as the white light hit Ling Xiao, the sea race demon general suddenly felt that something was wrong. That wasn't a human at all. It was Ling Xiao's sword soul avatar. "It's too late to understand now." A cold voice sounded from behind the sea race demon general, and a cold sword pierced his throat. "Congealing water." An icy aura instantly spread throughout the sea race demon general's body. This sea race demon general was only a half-step Empyrean with 10% of his strength. If it weren't for his soul lamp, he probably wouldn't have been able to defeat the blue-haired youth from the Sword King sect. Not to mention Ling Xiao. The current Ling Xiao could absolutely crush a half-step Empyrean with 10% of his strength. Kacha! The ice shattered. A dignified sea race demon general had died in his own territory. Ling Xiao searched the corpse and obtained some spirit stones, a martial arts manual, and the sea race demon general's soul lamp. Chapter 635. The soul lamp was originally something that only the lanternfish tribe had. Only with the soul lamp could one cultivate the martial arts of the lanternfish tribe. The martial arts manuals that Ling Xiao had found were all from the lanternfish tribe. However, this was not a problem for him. The soul lamp could be transformed into a soul lamp martial spirit through the mountain river martial spirit. It could also be used to cultivate the martial arts of the lanternfish tribe. Ling Xiao flipped through the martial arts manual and could not help but smile. This time he had picked up a treasure. Previously, he had obtained the talent martial arts of the soul tribe. This time he had obtained the talent martial arts of the lanternfish tribe. This was not a high-grade martial arts. Only the lanternfish tribe could cultivate it. However, to Ling Xiao, it was definitely a treasure. His soul power was so strong, but he could only use it. This thing was too powerful, and the repercussions were too great. Every time he used it, he would feel extremely uncomfortable. The power was obviously not that strong at the beginning. It was a progressive martial arts that could control the souls of all things. Of course, this effect could only be achieved by cultivating to the complete realm. Moreover, the target that could be controlled depended on the strength of one's soul power. If one's soul power was too weak, it would not work. However, it was definitely a good thing. Ling Xiao smiled. He first sent the soul lamp into the mountain river martial spirit and then transformed it into a martial spirit through the mountain river martial spirit. Then he memorized it completely in his heart and threw the book into the mountain river martial spirit. This thing could also be placed in the library of the divine sword sect in the future. Who knows, other disciples might be able to cultivate it. After destroying the corpse of the sea tribe demon general, Ling Xiao walked in the direction that the castle master had left. He had used his soul power to search the surroundings. There was indeed a huge array in operation. It was really difficult to break it. Moreover, the core of the array was in the demon castle. If he did not go there, he would not be able to break it. In the end, he still had to meet the castle master. It was easy to get lost in this damned place. However, Ling Xiao's soul power was strong enough. Coupled with the powerful map function of the mountain river martial spirit, it was not easy for him to get lost. After about 15 minutes, he arrived at the edge of the black forest. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of paddling could be heard. Ling Xiao opened his eyes and activated his mountain river martial spirit. His eyes shone with a dark golden light. In his line of sight, a massive ship was approaching. The people on the ship weren't sea folk, but humans. Go and take a look. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao used his movement skill to dash in the direction of the ship. On the surface of the sea, the ship was anchored at the edge of a piece of land. There were people moving the corpses of various monsters and ferocious beasts onto the ship. He looked like he was out hunting. Ling Xiao pondered. We've caught so many demonic beasts and ominous beasts this time. Apart from the ones we have to hand over to the demon castle, we can finally have a full meal. This place is really a blessed place. We should come here more often in the future. I didn't expect to catch a level 5 ominous beast. The one who spoke was a burly man in his 40s. His beard was unkempt, and his body was thin and weak. At this moment, he seemed very happy because he had reaped a great harvest from the hunt. Father, why do we have to pay taxes to the sea folk? We are clearly humans. Can't we contact the Yuehua school? Sitting on the side of the ship was a girl in a pink dress. She was only 14 or 15 years old. She looked very delicate and pretty, like a pretty girl from a humble family. Naturally, she couldn't be compared to a beauty, but she had her own unique charm. Her figure was petite and she looked very cute. Shh, don't talk nonsense. We don't even know where the Yuehua school is. How can we find him? What's more, it's not like you haven't seen it before. Some ninth heaven, transcendent realm masters came here and obediently submitted to the sea folk. What are we? If you resist, only death awaits you. The man hurriedly covered the girl's mouth and said in horror, "Humph, a bunch of cowards," the little girl muttered. Suddenly, her eyes revealed a look of panic. "Father, there's someone!" Hearing that there were people on the ship, everyone was startled. It was impossible to see someone in such a remote place under normal circumstances. The man followed the little girl's gaze and saw a figure rushing over. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid that the other party would discover him. In any case, he had to go to the demon castle. Without someone to lead the way and a ship, it would be very difficult. Friends, this one is a cultivator who broke in from the outside world and is looking for the demon castle. I wonder if you can give me a ride? He asked straightforwardly. Are you going to take revenge on the sea folk? Or are you going to join them? The little girl's words carried no harm, and she asked very directly. I have no revenge. I just came to the demon castle to play. Ling Xiao said with a smile. The man pondered for a while. The demon castle had ordered that no matter who found a human outside, no matter what the reason, they had to bring them to the demon castle. Even if he really brought Ling Xiao to the demon castle, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, as a fellow human, he still decided to persuade this young man. The demon castle is not a place to play. You will die if you go there. Ling Xiao said with a smile, It doesn't matter. I often seek death, but no one has ever killed me. Arrogant. Since you want to die, I can't stop you. But if you want to take the ship, you have to pay 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Do you have any? The man asked. Ling Xiao didn't say anything and threw out 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. The whole ship was almost full. These things were really insignificant to him. The man revealed a pleasantly surprised expression and moved the spirit stones into the cabin with the others. This ship was big enough to store 10,000 low-grade spirit stones without a problem. However, their cultivation wasn't bad. It was strange that no one had a storage ring. It seemed that the sea folk were really exploiting these people. Let's go. With so many spirit stones, we don't have to continue hunting. The man arranged the best room for Ling Xiao and then ordered the people who were moving the corpses of the beasts to stop. No matter how big the ship was, it still had to bear weight. With so many low-grade spirit stones, it was impossible to take away all the prey. Set sail. The man went to command the people to put away the anchor. They were not interested in Ling Xiao, this reckless young man. They didn't even want to get close to him. On the contrary, the little girl was very bold. She approached Ling Xiao and asked, Little brother, did you really come in from the outside? Yes, you don't believe me? But you are too young. Are you strong? The little girl said innocently, after going to the demon castle, even if you are a slave to the sea folk, there are different grades. If you are not strong, you will be bullied. Well, it's okay. Ling Xiao nodded, bragging. You are definitely not as strong as my father. My father is a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level martial vein realm, the little girl said proudly. Chapter 636. Through the conversation with the girl, Ling Xiao roughly knew some things about the demon castle. The girl was called Tu Jiao Jiao, and her father was called Tu Yen. This name, to Ling Xiao, was like thunder in his ears. When he was still a small disciple of the Ling family, he often heard people say that there was a strong warrior in northern Han. His name was Tu Yen, and his strength was not inferior to Lin Zai's. He was good friends with Lin Zai and had helped Lin Zai deal with the Ninja Clan and the Blue Eyes Clan many times. This name, like Lin Zai, was a legend in his heart. He didn't expect that today he would meet Tu Yen, but Tu Yen was in such a state, being used as a slave by others. Ling Xiao didn't say much, but he already had plans to rescue Tu Yen from the demon castle. Of course, he would still act according to his ability, and wouldn't do something that he obviously couldn't do. The ship cut through the waves and soon arrived at the harbor of the demon castle. What surprised Ling Xiao was that the demon castle wasn't built on the surface of the sea, but under the sea. When the ship reached a certain area, it would enter a completely sealed giant metal ball. When the metal ball sank, it would reach the demon castle. Ling Xiao had never seen such a thing before. This time it could be considered an eye-opener. As the ship stabilized, the metal ball slowly opened, and Ling Xiao saw a city built at the bottom of the sea. The huge city was wrapped in something like a soap bubble. Even ordinary humans could easily enter, and they wouldn't be crushed by the huge pressure, nor would they suffocate to death. Outside the metal ball, there were already many ships of various sizes docked. The people on the ships were basically humans, and they all looked expressionless. It was obvious that their lives weren't very good. This was very normal. It would be strange if they were happy to be slaves. The inside of the giant soap bubble was actually very bright, which made Ling Xiao feel quite strange, because this was hundreds of meters deep at the bottom of the sea. According to Tu Jiao Jiao's explanation, there were very powerful array masters in the sea race. They created a huge light-absorbing array, which could make the city at the bottom of the sea have the same day and night as outside. According to the Sea Clan, this was to adapt to life on land. Otherwise, if they were to invade the heavenly dragon continent in the future, it would be troublesome if they could not adapt. Little brother, this is Demon Fortress City. You've arrived at your destination, so we'll have to part ways. Tu Yen looked at Ling Xiao and said, But let me remind you, Demon Fortress City is not a good place. Don't act rashly, otherwise you won't even know how you died. Father, this little brother is quite a nice person. Why don't you tell him the rules of Demon Castle City so that he won't accidentally bump into someone's blade? Tu Jiao Jiao had a very good impression of Ling Xiao. Not only was this little brother generous, he was also humorous and had told her many interesting stories. That's fine, little brother. This Magic Castle City is the city of the oceanic race, so there's a big rule here. That is, you can't provoke the oceanic race. No matter what they do, you can't provoke them. Tu Yen looked at Ling Xiao and said, As long as you don't violate the biggest rule, everything else is fine. Next, I will briefly explain the rest of the rules to you. Many thanks, Senior. Although Ling Xiao was now much stronger than Tu Yen was still the valiant and invincible senior in his mind, so he should still show some respect. No need to thank me. Let me tell you, the most terrifying people in Demon Fortress City are the 3 Fort Masters. They are all oceanic race. Normally, they spend most of their time cultivating and basically don't care about the affairs of the city. The affairs of the city are handled by the humans who seek refuge here. Tu Yen continued, under the 3 fort masters of Demon Fortress City, there are 7 demon generals, 13 elders, and 72 deacons. Among the demon generals, only 1 is from the oceanic race, while the other 6 are all humans. The 13 elders and 72 deacons are all humans. It's quite complicated. When the Yin-Yang Demon King was here, it was even more complicated than this. Now that he has left, he has also taken a large number of masters with him. But this place is still very terrifying. The 7 demon generals are all 7th layer Transcendent Realm masters, and above, while the 3 fort masters are all half-step heavenly venerables. Tu Yen continued. So that's how it is. This is really a bit difficult. Ling Xiao rubbed his chin. Although he had confirmed that there were no Heaven Realm masters here, facing 3 half-step heavenly venerables, if he didn't release the 9-tailed monster fox, it would be really difficult to deal with. But within the Transcendent Realm, he really didn't want to waste the 9-tailed monster fox card. You don't have to be afraid. Entering Demon Fortress City isn't that scary, as long as you obediently follow the rules here. I suggest you go to the slave registration office to register. As long as you have the mark of a slave on your body, you won't be hunted down. Tu Yen reminded him. Register as a slave? Then I might as well die, actually leaving a shameful slave mark on his body. Ling Xiao didn't want to do that, even if he was beaten to death. Even when he was a beggar, he had never thought of such a thing, let alone now. Is there no other way? Ling Xiao said with a frown. There is, although Demon Fortress City is controlled by the oceanic race, as long as you have enough resources to pay tribute to one of the deacons. It's very simple to get you a reasonable identity. Tu Yen nodded. How many resources do I need? In terms of resources, Ling Xiao had a lot of them, so this was the one thing he was least afraid of. Although there are no written rules, everyone knows that if a martial vein cultivator wants to avoid being engraved with a slave mark, they have to pay at least 30,000 low-rank spirit stones. Cultivators below the 7th layer of the Transcendent Realm have to pay 10,000 low-rank spirit stones, while cultivators above the 7th layer of the Transcendent Realm have to pay 5,000 low-rank spirit stones. Tu Yen explained, the stronger you are, the less you have to pay. After all, even in Demon Fortress City, the oceanic race still needs to be managed by humans. For this kind of thing, they have always turned a blind eye. As long as a powerful cultivator is willing to submit to them, it doesn't matter whether they have a slave mark or not. In any case, a slave mark alone can't control these people. All right, I understand. Ling Xiao nodded. He didn't want a slave mark, nor did he intend to make a big fuss, so this unspoken rule was his best choice. Good. After we arrive at Demon Fortress City, I will show you the way and introduce you to one of the deacons. But from here on out, you can only rely on yourself. Don't make any trouble. Even if a half-step heavenly venerable comes here, they will have to weigh the pros and cons. I know your strength is good, but don't be careless. Ling Xiao had temporarily used the appearance of a Transcendent Realm 5th layer cultivator, so Tu Yen naturally couldn't see through his true cultivation. A Transcendent Realm 5th layer cultivation wasn't too low, but it also wasn't too high, just right for him to investigate. He hadn't forgotten what his task this time was. His first task was to investigate, not take action. Of course, if he had no other choice, he wouldn't be stingy with his methods. Chapter 637. What's that? Suddenly, Ling Xiao saw a strange ship. This ship was completely wrapped in a metal shell, almost airtight. Even water couldn't seep in. That's called a diving ship. Only elders and demon generals are qualified to ride it. Tu Yen explained. Diving ships usually search for secret treasures at the bottom of the sea. This sea has always been rumored to have a cultivation cave left behind by a human king. Unfortunately, after searching for several years, there are still no results. Human King's Cave. When Ling Xiao heard these words, his heart couldn't help but tremble. No matter what martial arts he cultivated or what inheritance he inherited, the mountain river martial spirit had always been the core. Therefore, he wanted to raise the level of the mountain river martial spirit as soon as possible. In the human king's life, he had changed many cultivation grounds and left behind many cave dwellings. Any one of them could have something related to the mountain river martial spirit. He thought to himself that he had made the right choice this time. Yes, but the human king's cave is too difficult to find. Fortunately, there's a very special plant in the depths of the sea. It grows a fruit called the martial soul fruit. If it is sold outside, the worst one is worth 100 million low-grade spirit stones. The best one might not even be bought with 100 million top-grade spirit stones. Tu Yan continued, "The sea race has been searching for it all these years, but they only found 3 martial soul fruits. What kind of effect does this martial soul fruit have? Why is it so valuable?" Ling Xiao was truly frightened. He originally thought that he had enough wealth, but from the looks of it, all of his wealth couldn't even buy a martial soul fruit. It has 4 effects. First, it can increase one's lifespan by 1 to 10 years. This isn't too exaggerated. The effect is inferior to the longevity fruit. Of course, it's just a side effect. Second, it can add a new martial soul. Remember, it's adding a new martial soul. In other words, it won't affect the original martial soul. However, every warrior can only use one in their lifetime. Otherwise, their body will explode and they will die. This is the most terrifying use of the martial soul fruit. Third, it can strengthen and advance an existing martial soul. Fourth, it can strengthen the soul. It's these 4 effects that make its value terrifying. Tu Yan explained, "I won't hide it from you, little brother. Back then, I came for the martial soul fruit. In the end, I didn't expect it to be a trap set up by the sea race." Now, Ling Xiao suddenly understood why so many human experts had been lured to Demon Castle City. These people had probably come here to search for the martial soul fruit and the human king's dwelling. In the end, they had come here rashly, falling into the sea race's trap. Tu Yan was definitely not the only one who was fooled. There were probably many others who were fooled like him. They chatted as they got off the boat and walked towards a building. That is the slave registration office. After you go in, just tell the guards that you don't want the slave mark. They will naturally understand what you mean. Tu Yan pointed at a huge building and said, "Thanks a lot." Ling Xiao did not doubt Tu Yan's words, because if Tu Yan really wanted to harm him, he could just leave him alone. He would quickly be discovered for not knowing the rules, so there was no need to go through so much trouble. Moreover, Tu Yan was a straightforward and upright person. Although he was more cautious than before, his nature had not changed. "In short, little brother, I can only help you up to here. Take care of yourself." Tu Yan patted Ling Xiao on the shoulder before leaving with his group. Ling Xiao followed Tu Yan's instructions and saw a deacon at the slave registration office. This person was obviously a ninja clan master. He wore a special headband on his head, and the true chi in his body was exactly the same as a ninja's. The other party was about 40 years old and had a cultivation at the 2nd layer of the transcendent realm. With such strength, being able to serve as a deacon, it could be seen that there was still a big gap between Demon Castle City and the 12 great sects. Of course, this was because the Yin-Yang Demon King had taken away most of the masters. Otherwise, Ling Xiao would not have dared to take such a risk. "What's your cultivation?" The ninja deacon asked directly. 5th layer of the transcendent realm. To reach the 5th layer of the transcendent realm, one had to pay 10,000 low-grade spirit stones to avoid being engraved with the slave mark. This amount of spirit stones was nothing to Ling Xiao, and he believed that he could recoup his losses from Demon Castle City. Although the ninja deacon was skeptical after staring at him for a long time, he still could not figure out what was going on. In the end, he slammed the table and said, "Pay 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, and you can avoid being engraved with the slave mark, but you have to wear a slave collar. The ninja deacon said, 30,000? Deacon, did you make a mistake? Didn't I only pay 10,000 low-grade spirit stones? Ling Xiao cupped his fists and asked, Cut the crap. You're the one begging me now, not the other way around. 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, not a single one less. Otherwise, you'll have to obediently engrave the mark of a slave. Even if you leave this place in the future, you'll still be an ugly person. The ninja deacon sneered. In fact, this person was not targeting Ling Xiao. In fact, the people who made the unspoken rules were the higher-level demon generals and elders. After the deacon received the spirit stones, he had to give the majority to the demon generals and elders, leaving only a small portion for himself. Therefore, it was normal for them to add some spirit stones to the unspoken rules, and for a long time, no one dared to refuse. It was just that the ninja deacon did not seem to realize that he had run into an iron plate today. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and decided to endure. After all, 30,000 low-grade spirit stones were nothing to him. After this matter was over, he would ask for it back. Thinking of this, he nodded and said, All right, Sir Deacon, here are 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Please count them. Very good. You are very smart. Generally, smart people will be fine. The ninja deacon sneered after Ling Xiao admitted defeat. Ling Xiao directly placed the 30,000 low-grade spirit stones on the ground. Anyway, there was a lot of space here, so he was not afraid of not being able to fit them. The ninja deacon counted them and confirmed that there were 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Then he put the spirit stones away and said to Ling Xiao with a smile, All right, put your storage ring and other things here. Slaves are not allowed to bring those things. Ling Xiao frowned slightly, but he still did as he was told. In any case, he didn't have anything valuable in his storage ring. The real good stuff was all in the Mountain River world. Sir Deacon, please help me register. After handing over the things, Ling Xiao looked at the ninja deacon and said, He did all these things because he wanted to get a legal identity in the Demon Fortress City. Although this identity was still a slave, it was better than being an unknown person. Why are you in such a hurry? Isn't it just a registration? Since you handed over your storage ring so readily, you should be a rich cultivator outside. How about this? I'll kindly accept your storage ring. What do you think? The ninja deacon said with a smile, his eyes revealing incomparable cunning and greed. Chapter 638. Ling Xiao's heart was filled with murderous intent. Lottie's ninja deacon was insatiable. I gave you face and didn't want to teach you a lesson. You really think you're something? You're so greedy. Not only do you want my spirit stones, but you also want my storage ring. Sir Deacon, are you kidding me? I only have one storage ring, and it's the worst kind. If I give it to you, I won't even have a place to put my things. Is that so? Then I'll be merciful. You don't need the storage ring. Give me another 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, and I'll register you. The ninja deacon sneered. Sir Deacon, isn't this a bit too much? Ling Xiao wasn't the kind of person who could stand being bullied. Now that he met such an aggressive and greedy guy, his heart was filled with murderous intent. With Yang Kai's current strength, killing a second-layer transcendent realm cultivator was as easy as crushing an ant. Even if the Demon Castle's castle master came, he could still fight him. Not to mention, he still had the nine-tailed fox sealing card. If he was annoyed, he wouldn't investigate anymore. He might as well just destroy the Demon Castle. Too much? How dare you say I'm too much? The ninja deacon sneered. Good, very good. In that case, all your things belong to me, and you must engrave the slave mark on them. Otherwise, you'll die. If Ling Xiao revealed his true strength now, the ninja deacon wouldn't dare to offend him. This group of people had always bullied the weak and feared the strong. If they met a weak person, they would bully them to death. If they met a strong person, they would be afraid. Of course, if they met a strong person, it would be a different story. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't want to hold back anymore. Since this guy wanted to die, he didn't mind sending him on his way. Hee, I just wanted to settle the matter peacefully. Since you have received 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, you should have stopped, but you really don't know what's good for you. Now, not only will I not give you a single spirit stone, I will also take your spirit stones. Ling Xiao suddenly sneered, his voice filled with murderous intent. You are courting death. No one has ever dared to be so disrespectful to me. You're just a trivial, transcendent fifth-layer cultivator. Although I'm not your opponent, what can you do by yourself? The ninja deacon shouted, and suddenly, more than 10 people rushed into the room. Among these people, there were second or third layer transcendent realm cultivators, as well as fifth or sixth layer transcendent realm cultivators. All of them were deacons of Demon Fortress City. So what if you have more people? You're clearly a human, but you colluded with the sea race to bully your own kind. You've committed a heinous crime and deserve to be killed. Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes and said, Go, kill this brat. As soon as one of them gave the order, with the exception of 3/5 or 6th layer transcendent realm deacons, everyone else rushed towards Ling Xiao. Die! Ling Xiao didn't use any martial arts that would easily expose his identity. A huge shadow appeared behind him. It was the evil Beast Demon King Martial Spirit. The evil Beast Demon King didn't have a specific form. He could transform into any ferocious beast other than the ancient giant beasts. What appeared behind Ling Xiao was a ferocious tiger bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. Roar! Evil beast form, Tiger Hunt. The huge tiger transformed into its physical form and jumped out from behind Ling Xiao, using its huge claws and maw to attack. In just a short moment, 7 or 8 second layer transcendent realm deacons died on the spot. How is this possible? He's clearly just a 5th layer transcendent realm cultivator. How can he be so strong? The remaining 3 deacons were pale with fright. Hand over all your spirit stones, and I'll let the 3 of you go. Otherwise, your fate will be the same as his. Ling Xiao pointed at the ninja deacon who had already turned into a pile of meat and said coldly, killing a few deacons. Ling Xiao didn't care at all. He had already thought it through. Since there was no way to get along peacefully, he might as well go all out and destroy Demon Fortress City. He believed that there were many people in Demon Fortress City who didn't want to become slaves of the sea race. They were only afraid of the terrifying strength of the 3 sea race fort lords, so they didn't dare to make any moves. However, if Ling Xiao were to cause a ruckus in Demon Fortress City, he believed that these people would respond to his call. Courting death, let's attack together. The 3/5 layer Transcendent Realm deacons were definitely not scared by Ling Xiao's words. They also didn't believe that Ling Xiao's cultivation was on par with theirs. So how strong could he be? The 3 of them joined forces and sent out a sword light, a saber light, and a spear light, directly enveloping Ling Xiao. Who's the one courting death here? You don't seem to understand. Ling Xiao coldly snorted, still not intending to act. The tiger suddenly split into 3 and pounced on the 3 ninja deacons. His sword soul doppelganger could also be used on his martial spirit, something Ling Xiao had already tested many times. However, this was the first time he had used it in battle. The 3 tigers easily shattered the 3 powerful attacks and then stepped on the 3 ninja deacons, making them unable to move at all. You can't kill us. We're directly loyal to Demon General Qin Shui. If you kill us, you'll never be able to walk out of here alive. The 3 ninja deacons were now afraid and brought out their mastermind behind the scenes. I don't care about some bullshit, Demon General Qin Shui. Hand over your spirit stones or die. Ling Xiao had already killed the demon general outside, and it was the strongest of the 7 demon generals. So why would he care about the other 6? We'll hand them over. We'll hand them over. The 3 ninja deacons weren't fierce men, so when they saw that the other party wasn't even afraid of Demon General Kinshue, they understood that they had kicked an iron plate. If they handed over their spirit stones, they could still get it back, but if they died, they would lose everything. Thinking so, the 3 ninja deacons handed over their storage rings to Ling Xiao. Although most cultivators in Demon Fortress City didn't have storage rings, deacons and above definitely had them. Ling Xiao's soul power directly scanned the 3 ninja deacons' storage rings, and he couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. These 3 ninja deacons, plus the 8 ninja deacons who were already dead, were really rich. There were more than 500,000 low-grade spirit stones in their storage rings. There were also nearly 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones. It was a pity that there weren't any upper-grade spirit stones. However, it was normal. With their cultivation, they didn't have the qualifications to have upper-grade spirit stones. Low-grade spirit stones were no longer effective for Ling Xiao to increase his cultivation, but they were still useful for recovering his true essence. In addition, they could be used to set up simple magic arrays and arrays. Of course, the most important thing was to use them as currency to buy things. In the world of sex, spirit stones were the real currency and gold and silver were basically useless. However, mid-grade spirit stones were what Ling Xiao needed most at the moment. There were 50,000 pieces here, and he could use them to cultivate. Bastard, let them go. Just as Ling Xiao threw all the ninja deacon storage rings into his mountain and river martial soul, a loud shout rang out. Chapter 639. After a loud shout, 3 figures appeared outside the door. These 3 people were at the early stage of the Transcendent Realm, the peak of the Transcendent Realm, and the invincible Transcendent Realm. According to Demon Fortress City's hierarchy, they should be elders. They probably weren't at the level of a demon general. Although the Sea Clan Demon General was only at the Transcendent Realm's 7th layer, his soul strength was his real trump card. His soul strength was even stronger than a Heaven Realm Master, so he should be an exception. If Ling Xiao guessed correctly, the Demon General should be at the Transcendent Realm 9th layer except for the Sea Clan Demon General. Who would have thought that this Demon Castle City would be so united? Ling Xiao had just started fighting here, and there were actually elder-level cultivators coming over. These elders weren't even as strong as the Yuehua School's outer sect elder. They were too weak. The 3 people, one from the Blue Eyes clan, one from the Ninja clan, and one from the Sacred Dynasty, were easy to recognize. All 3 of them were humans, but they had become lackeys of the Sea Clan. It was really a pity. One of the deacons who was being held down by Ling Xiao's Demon King martial spirit shouted, "Elder Tang, Elderly, Elder Su, help! This bastard killed 8 of our deacons. How dare he? We can't let him live." The elder of the Green Eyes tribe had a cold expression on his face. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he looked at Ling Xiao and said coldly, "Brat, release the 3 deacons at once. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces and leave you without a complete corpse." "Elder Tang, just do it. This guy is obviously here to cause trouble for the Fort Lords. He's overestimating himself. Kill him, and the 3 Fort Lords will definitely give us a merit." The Ninja Clan elder sneered. "Elder Su is right. This guy is obviously a human cultivator from the Sacred Dynasty. He's extremely sinister and cunning. We can't let him go." Elder Li, who is also from the human race's Sacred Dynasty, seemed to be more eager to kill Ling Xiao than the other 2 to gain the Sea Clan's trust. Asterisk Kacha. Asterisk at this time, the deacon who had shouted for help and asked the 3 elders to kill Ling Xiao was also trampled into meat paste by the tiger. Ling Xiao had no intention of showing mercy. That guy wanted to kill him when he saw someone coming, so why should he be polite? "Let them kill me, and I'll kill you first." Ling Xiao laughed coldly and kicked the corpse away. He then looked at the three elders and said, "Elders, I came to Castle Devil to surrender, but these people made things difficult for me and even tried to kill me. I was just trying to save myself." "Bastard, you have no right to quibble. Killing a deacon of Demon Castle City is a crime punishable by death. Even if you have a good reason, you can't do it," Elder Su roared. Ling Xiao didn't expect them to be reasonable. If he killed the deacon, the elder would come. If he killed the elder, then Demon General Can Snow would appear. This was perfect. He didn't need to move to another location to attract the Demon Castle's Castle Lord. This saved him a lot of effort. What a good thing. Bang bang. Ling Xiao casually crippled the other two deacons, and then the Demon King martial spirit returned to his back. These two deacons didn't need to die, but the sudden appearance of the three elders made Ling Xiao very angry, so he vented his anger on them. "Boy, you dare to kill our deacon in front of us. Today you will die without a doubt." Elder Su snorted and raised his hand. A sword suddenly appeared in his hand, but it was different from Ling Xiao's sword. It was a single-edged sword that ninja warriors preferred. It looked like a knife, but narrower and thinner. The sword flashed with purple light. It should be an electric sword and a treasure weapon. With the infusion of Zhen Yuan, the purple electric current became more and more fierce. Purple lightning constantly appeared around Elder Su, as if forming a protective net made of electric current. "Elder Su, do you need our help?" Elderly asked. "No need. Give me 3 breaths of time, and I will cut off his head," Elder Su of the Blue Eyes clan said confidently. His cultivation was the weakest of the 3, only at the early stage of the transcendent realm, but his self-confidence wasn't weak. He actually dared to clamor for Ling Xiao's life. Lightning bird style, sword, art, gallop. Elder Su's figure suddenly disappeared, and a purple electric light appeared in front of Ling Xiao in the blink of an eye, like a giant lightning bird swooping down on its prey. Bang! Ling Xiao didn't move, but the deacon gently stretched out his right hand and shot out a sword of qi, which condensed into the shape of a mouse and bit down on Elder Su's sword. Ka ka ka! The long sword actually made a sound as if it was about to break. Then, a huge force penetrated Elder Su's body, and a fist-sized hole appeared where Elder Su's heart was, and black smoke was rising from it. "You want to play with me? You're still far from enough." Ling Xiao sneered and crossed his hands behind his back. He had no intention of pursuing because Elder Su's vitality had already been extinguished. "Elder Su, what happened to you?" Elder Tang of the Blue Eyes clan stared in horror at Elder Su, who was standing motionless, a look of disbelief on his face. Elder Su was a cultivator at the 7th layer of the Transcendent Realm, while the young man in front of him was only at the 5th layer. One had to know that in the Transcendent Realm, the 7th layer was the first great hurdle. The 7th layer was completely different from the 6th layer. But the reality was that a dignified 7th layer Transcendent Realm elder, Su, had actually been killed in a single move. Impossible! How could this little brat kill a 7th layer Transcendent Realm master with just a 5th layer Transcendent Realm cultivation? Even a genius can't do this. Not to mention, he didn't even use a weapon. Elder Tang couldn't believe the situation in front of him. His cultivation isn't just at the 5th layer Transcendent Realm. He must be hiding his true strength. You and I should join forces to deal with him. Although Elderly couldn't see through Ling Xiao's cultivation, from the fact that Ling Xiao was able to kill Elder Su in a single move, he could roughly infer that Ling Xiao's cultivation wasn't low. All right. Elder Tang wasn't an idiot. He had already lost one of his men. If he still rashly attacked Ling Xiao alone, he would be courting death. However, he also believed that as long as he joined forces with Elderly, they would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. The 2 men exchanged a glance before summoning their respective martial spirits. The phantom that appeared behind Elder Tang was an assassin wearing a cloak. Although his appearance couldn't be seen clearly, it was as if his entire body was wrapped in a cloak. The weapon in his hand was a pair of sharp fists, an assassin martial spirit. Strictly speaking, this was the Blue Eyes clan's assassin spirit. The phantom that appeared behind Elder Lee was a shark. No wonder he had pledged allegiance to the sea race. With the help of the sea race, his martial spirit had probably become even more powerful. Clone slash! Elder Tang roared angrily, and the shadow of the assassin behind him suddenly shot towards Ling Xiao. This person's cultivation wasn't high, but his martial spirit had already reached the leaving aperture realm, allowing him to coordinate with a cultivator's moves to launch a substantial attack. The doppelganger slash was only an attack, which was completely different from Ling Xiao's martial soul doppelganger and sword soul doppelganger. After the attack, the clone slash would disappear. His attack didn't have a large-scale effect, but rather its speed and suddenness. This was an assassin's attack. Chapter 640. Raging Shark Wave. Comparatively speaking, Elder Lee's attack was much more ostentatious. When he used his move, the shark phantom behind him slapped his body, forming an illusory wave. It was condensed from true essence, but it was almost no different from a real one. Then the surrounding spiritual energy was torn into the huge wave, and the shadow of the shark also merged into it, pouncing towards Ling Xiao. Hua! A huge rumble sounded, like a shark slapping a stormy sea. The entire wall of the slave registration office collapsed, and that was only the power that spread out. Most of the power of this attack was directed at Ling Xiao. What a pity! The two of you have a good understanding of martial souls. It's a pity that you recognized a thief as your father and tried to kill me. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. In the fierce wave, Ling Xiao's long hair and clothes fluttered. He still stood there without any intention of dodging. The deacon casually tapped twice. Two chi swords broke through the air. Chi! Chi! The first time, the assassin phantom was directly torn apart by the chi swords and scattered in the air. The second time, the wave was directly scattered. The shark was also shattered and completely disappeared. Only black sparks filled the air, and it was filled with fear. What? The two of them were shocked. Their combined attack was no joke, but it was broken so easily by the other party. What was this? If the other party attacked them with all his strength and defeated them, they might be surprised, but they could still accept it. But in this situation, they attacked with all their strength, and the other party just casually tapped twice without leaving any trace. This was enough to make them go crazy. If you want to die, you can continue. Ling Xiao looked at the two of them indifferently. He was merciful this time, because he suddenly thought of the Human King's cave abode and the martial soul fruit. If it was possible, even if there was a slim chance, he still wanted to get these two things first, and then destroy the demon castle. That was why he held back and didn't use a killing move. Otherwise, if he had used any of the moves just now, it would have been enough to kill those two people directly. Yan Kai was an early transcendent realm 9th layer cultivator. Putting aside his ability to challenge cultivators above his own realm, his cultivation alone was more than enough to crush these two. If Yan Kai still wasn't confident he could achieve such a feat, then he really didn't need to be here anymore. Heavens, the slave registration office has been destroyed. What happened? Originally, the slave registration office was a closed structure. People outside definitely couldn't see the situation inside. But now, a part of the slave registration office building was directly destroyed by the battle and completely collapsed. The battle between Ling Xiao, Elder Tang, and Elder Li was completely exposed in front of everyone. Isn't that Elder Tang and Elder Li? Heavens, there's also Elder Su. Why does Elder Su seem to be dead? Hey, those on the ground are the deacons, right? Why are they all dead? Who is that young man? Did he kill all these people? It must be. Look, Elder Tang and Elder Li have joined forces. This shows that this young man is powerful. What do you guys think? Will this young man overturn Demon Citadel City? In any case, the Yin-Yang Demon King isn't here right now. I don't think so. What does an elder count for? Above the elders are the 7 demon generals, not to mention the 3 citadel masters. I guess this young man's fate will be the same as those people before. It's not like this hasn't happened in our demon citadel before. What a pity this young man should be a genius among human cultivators. Soon, the streets and alleys were filled with people. Among these people, there were some who had reached the 9th layer of the transcendent realm, and there were even some who were half-step heavenly venerables. However, none of these people had the courage to challenge Demon's citadel and obediently became its slaves. Their evaluation of Ling Xiao could be summed up in a few words. His courage was commendable, but the result was tragic. These onlookers had discovered the battle inside, and naturally the cultivators in the slave registration office had also discovered it. The slave registration office could be said to be the place with the strongest defense outside of the Citadel Master's Mansion. All the guards were Transcendent Realm cultivators, and although they had only just entered the Transcendent Realm, there were still many of them. Perhaps because it had been too peaceful before, no one had ever dared to cause trouble in the slave registration office. Even the so-called masters who had caused trouble before had chosen to fight on the streets. So the guards of the slave registration office were basically idle. This was also why they hadn't immediately moved out this time. However, at this time, even a blind man would know what was going on. Therefore, tens of thousands of guards and warriors quickly surrounded the slave registration office, so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Originally, Elder Tang and Elder Li had planned to admit defeat and plan for the future. However, seeing the guards of the slave registration office take action, they suddenly regained their confidence. One had to know that the captains of this group of cultivators were all deacon-level masters, and their status was equivalent to deacons. With the 2 of them joining forces, even a 9th layer Transcendent Realm cultivator might not be able to escape, unless they were a half-step heavenly venerable. Otherwise they would die without a doubt. Ha, little brat, you missed the best opportunity to defeat us. Now I'll give you 10 breaths of time to put down the weapon in your hand and surrender immediately. Otherwise, with all these people attacking together, you won't even have an intact corpse left. Elder Tang grinned meaningfully. Hearing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help laughing. It had been a long time since he had heard such a funny joke. Indeed, with so many Transcendent Realm cultivators joining forces, an ordinary 9th layer Transcendent Realm cultivator might really die. But he was different. Facing these people, he didn't even have the slightest interest in running away. If they dared to attack him, he would simply kill them. He had proven more than once that human wave tactics were meaningless against him. Of course, the reason why he hadn't taken action immediately was because he still had a glimmer of hope that he could temporarily become a member of Demon Fortress City. After completing his task and goal, he would send these people to the afterlife. Elder Tang, do you really think that you can capture me just because you have more people? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully and said, I advise you to inform your superiors as soon as possible and tell them my purpose. I'm here to surrender, not to kill. Don't push me too far, otherwise I'll tear down Demon Fortress City. Do you believe me? Are you really here to surrender? Elder Li and Elder Tang glanced at each other, both of their brow furrowed. With such a master, they didn't need to report it all to know that the 3 fort masters would definitely welcome him and would likely give him a very good position, such as an elder. At that time, this young man would be on equal footing with them. Even if he killed so many people, the Demon Fortress Master wouldn't blame him, because if he was killed, then he was a piece of trash. This was the Demon Fortress Master's true opinion. What's more, this young man clearly had the appearance of a human, but there was a strange Sea Clan aura around him that was difficult to distinguish. Chapter 641. The Sea Race's aura was probably due to the evil beast Demon King's martial spirit. Ling Xiao purposely released this aura. He could pretend to be the evil beast Demon King's subordinate. This way, he should be able to gain the favor of the Demon Castle's lord. Even if he couldn't gain favor, as long as he agreed to stay in the Demon Castle for a while, it would be enough. He wasn't really going to surrender. What? The two elders don't believe in my sincerity. Or do you want to offend my master, the evil beast Demon King? Ling Xiao suddenly sneered. Evil beast Demon King. Is he talking about the evil beast Demon King on the same level as the Yin-Yang Demon King? Hearing Ling Xiao's words, the surrounding people were shocked. Ling Xiao really gave them a big problem. After a moment of silence, Elderly said unhappily, "Even if you're here to surrender, you've killed so many deacons and an elder. This is a capital offense. You have to come with us to the prison first. After we interrogate you, we'll make a decision." He planned to do something behind the scenes. In any case, the three castle lords were cultivating in seclusion. The entire demon castle was under the control of the demon general. Their backer was the demon general Residual Snow. As long as they put this kid in prison, they could do whatever they wanted. It wasn't like they hadn't twisted the truth before. Looks like there's no way for us to have a proper discussion. Just based on the likes of you. How dare you order a future demon general around? What crime would it be for me to kill you? Even the castellan of the demonic citadel won't blame me. How could Ling Xiao not know these people's dirty thoughts? He naturally wouldn't go with them. Who knew if they would lead him into some kind of trap? Here, he could fight if he wanted to, and leave if he wanted to. No one could stop him. But if he entered some kind of formation, then he would be in trouble. Ling Xiao himself knew about formations and spirit formations, so he knew better than anyone about the power of formations and spirit formations. You want to become a demon general? That's the biggest joke in the world. It turned out that being someone's slave could also make people feel superior. Ling Xiao was really impressed by the person who spoke. This person hadn't arrived yet, but his words had. A purple-black light flew over from the distance. It looked like a black snowflake. Sir Demon General Residual Snow. Seeing this white light, the surrounding slaves all knelt down, whether they were here to watch or enemies of Ling Xiao. Some of them were even stronger than the Demon General Residual Snow, but they still knelt down. Only Ling Xiao stood there, looking at the black light indifferently. Ninth layer, Transcendent Realm. This was the Demon General Residual Snow's cultivation. Demon General Residual Snow, transcendent in the Demon Castle. However, compared to this fellow's cultivation, Ling Xiao was more interested in his martial soul. It was actually a black snowflake. A gigantic black snowflake. Soon, the Demon General Residual Snow appeared in front of the crowd with his hands behind his back. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao and asked, "Did you kill all these people?" His voice was like many people Ling Xiao had seen before. It was arrogant, indifferent, and full of disdain, as if everyone else were ants and he was the only one who was stronger. What a frog at the bottom of a well. Ling Xiao sneered and replied, "Yes, they deserve to die." What? This guy was too arrogant. He dared to be so arrogant in front of the Demon General Residual Snow? Among the crowd, there was a half-step heavenly venerable with 10% of his strength. He had fought with the Demon General Residual Snow before, but lost miserably. Sometimes, cultivation couldn't fully represent a person's strength. Martial souls, weapons, true chi, martial arts, and so on had a great impact on a cultivator's strength. He knew how terrifying the Demon General Residual Snow was. That black snowflake made people tremble. Ha 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 ha. The Demon General Residual Snow was so angry that he laughed. He thought that his appearance would make this person kneel on the ground immediately. He didn't expect that the other party didn't give him any face at all, and actually said that his people deserved to die. They deserve to die? Then you deserve to die even more. Hey, I didn't know who gave them the courage to offend me. Now I understand. They learned their stupidity from you. Ling Xiao smiled. Good. Very good. The demon General Residual Snow didn't want to talk nonsense with Ling Xiao anymore. He suddenly moved and pounced on Ling Xiao. His hands had become as black as ink. If one looked carefully, they seemed to be wrapped in black frost. Because he was so fast, a strange hole was squeezed out of the air, creating a huge sonic boom. Too fast. It was really shockingly fast. From the moment he attacked to the moment he pounced on Ling Xiao, it was almost the blink of an eye. Apart from Ling Xiao, no one else saw how he attacked. Bang! The demon General Residual Snow was fast. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao was even faster. In terms of speed, no one in the transcendent realm was Ling Xiao's opponent. When his palm wind came, Ling Xiao's hand also stretched out, and then the two of them collided in midair. Boom! The slave registration office, which had already partially collapsed, now had a huge gap. With the two as the center, a terrifying energy wave spread out, directly collapsing all the walls within more than 10 meters. The guards of the slave registration office, who were closest to the slave registration office, all fled in panic, vomiting blood, and some even fainted. How could he keep up? The demon General Residual Snow was shocked. He was confident that among the 7 demon generals, he was definitely the fastest. Moreover, he launched a sudden attack. It stood to reason that apart from the 3 Fort Lords, no one else could block it. However, to his surprise, not only did Ling Xiao block it, but he also appeared to be calm, easily dispelling the terrifying chill from his hands. This person's martial soul has 2 effects. One is speed, and the other is the penetration of a terrifying chill. Moreover, he is quite good at using them. It's a pity that he is still stuck on the surface and has not truly comprehended the true essence of a martial soul. With just one exchange, Ling Xiao judged the general situation of the demon General Residual Snow. This person's martial arts were based on his martial soul, but his martial soul couldn't perfectly integrate with his soul, so the power he could display was naturally not very good. Of course, compared to most cultivators, he was still much stronger. You can block this demon general's blow, so you have some skill. But can you block this one? Black Snowstorm. 1. The martial soul behind the demon General Residual Snow shook, and a terrifying storm rushed towards him. This feeling was really similar to Ling Xiao's ice storm, but it was much weaker. If that's the case, let's see whose ice storm is stronger. Ling Xiao sneered, and an ice dragon sword appeared in his hand. Then he casually swung it, and the white ice storm met the black ice storm. Boom! With just one touch, the black ice storm collapsed, and then the ice storm blasted onto the demon General Residual Snow's body. Pum! Puff! The demon General Residual Snow's protective vital energy couldn't block the power of the ice storm. His face instantly turned pale, and a mouthful of blood sprayed on the white snow. He was directly sent into the sky by the ice storm and then fell heavily to the ground. Chapter 642. Demon General Snow came over aggressively, but he was beaten by Ling Xiao until he spat out blood and fell to the ground. Novel. It could be said that he had lost all face. How is this possible? Demon General Snow was actually defeated? This is too outrageous. Am I seeing things? Elder Tang and Elder Li looked at each other, unable to believe the situation in front of them. Those who were still kneeling on the ground were even more dumbfounded. The expert that they feared to death was actually so vulnerable in front of this strange young man? Impossible! Impossible! How can your moves be stronger than mine? Demon General Snow was seriously injured this time. He fell to the ground and almost went crazy. He struggled to stand up, but after several attempts he failed. He felt as if his meridians had been completely frozen by the ice-cold chill. Although he also cultivated ice, attributed true essence, and possessed a black blood martial soul that had a powerful freezing ability, he was still able to control the true essence. However, in front of this young man he was in such a sorry state. "If you attack again, I'll kill you." Ling Xiao's cold voice rang in Demon General Can Snow's ears. He was already beside Demon General Can Snow, and the ice dragon's sword was on his throat. As long as he moved forward slightly, Demon General Can Snow's head would be cut off. Goo! Demon General Can Snow swallowed his saliva, and his eyes became clearer. He now understood that he was not worth mentioning in front of this young man. If he really continued to attack, he would really die. There was no chance of survival. "Young hero, please spare my life." No matter how unwilling he was, under Ling Xiao's murderous gaze, Demon General Can Snow still had to say these words. "I didn't plan to kill you. Take me to see the fort master. I just want the position of a demon general." Ling Xiao said indifferently. "Of course. What are you all still doing there? Get lost." Demon General Can Snow did not dare to offend Ling Xiao, so he vented his anger on the guards at the slave registration office. Yes, those people were very clear that Demon General Can Snow was angry. At this time, they absolutely could not provoke him. Otherwise, they would die without even knowing how. Demon General Can Snow was defeated. However, if he wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. "Young hero, please come with me." Demon General Can Snow's eyes flashed with a trace of haze. He seemed to be obedient to Ling Xiao, but he did not want to give up. He was no match for Ling Xiao alone. But what about the 7 demon generals? He did not believe that Ling Xiao could defeat the 7 demon generals alone. How could Ling Xiao not know what he was thinking? He only sneered and did not point it out. Since someone was asking for a beating, can't be taught a lesson. The place where the 3 castellans of the Magic Castle City lived was located in the sky above the Magic Castle City. It was like a floating island in the Magic Castle City. Ling Xiao followed Demon General Can Snow. Naturally, there were no obstructions along the way. After all, normally it would not be so easy. They would have to kill their way through. The floating island was very luxurious. It was built in the style of Northern Han's imperial palace. It seemed that the sea race's ambition was not small. Entering the central hall, there were 2 sea race people sitting in the seats of honor. One of them had a head like a shark and sharp teeth. The other looked like an octopus and had 8 hands and feet. Although the 2 of them looked strange, their auras were very powerful. Sitting there, they were like 2 fierce beasts ready to hunt at any time. Second Castle Master. Third Castle Master, this is Ling Xiao. Demon General Can Snow was very respectful in front of the 2 Castle Masters. Obviously, the 2 Castle Masters already knew Ling Xiao's name and purpose for coming here. They were probably informed by the onlookers. This was also good. Ling Xiao did not have to waste his breath to introduce himself. The great Castle Master was not here. He must be recuperating. Although he had used a special secret scroll to control the Heaven Realm expert, the great Castle Master had consumed a lot of energy. Without 3 or 4 days of recovery, he would not be able to recover to his peak state. A black-robed old man was sitting in the seat of honor. He was different from ordinary old men. His body was as sturdy as a bear. His palms were like palm leaf fans, and his finger joints were like small eggs. They contained terrifying power. "Are you the one who injured Demon General Can Snow?" The second Castle Master asked coldly. "Yes." Ling Xiao nodded. "It's good that you admit it. Apologize to Demon General Can Snow now, and I will not pursue what happened today." The second Castle Master said coldly. Hearing this, Demon General Can Snow could not help but sneer in his heart. Of course, he knew the characters of the 2 Castle Masters. That was why he dared to bring Ling Xiao here. Ling Xiao was the kind of person who would never lower his head and admit his mistakes. In this case, the castle masters, especially the tyrannical second castle master, would definitely take action. At that time, Ling Xiao, a puny person, would die easily. Ling Xiao looked at Demon General Can Snow with a faint smile. Suddenly, he attacked. A sword light flashed, and Demon General Can Snow's head fell from his neck. There was still a complacent smile on his face. Hee, there is no Demon General Can Snow now. Do I still need to apologize? Ling Xiao looked at the second castle master with a smile, and said indifferently. Seeing this scene, the second castle master was furious. He said viciously, "You dare to kill Demon General Can Snow in front of us. That means you are ready to bear our wrath?" Ling Xiao said indifferently, "I have to reiterate that I am here to be a demon general. I am not here to apologize to anyone." Bastard. The second castle master sneered and slowly stood up from his seat. The Sea tribe did not seem to have a martial soul. However, they had powerful innate abilities, or the power of their bloodline. It was not inferior to a human's martial soul at all. The bloodline power of the Sharkmen usually came from the giant, sky-swallowing shark from the prehistoric times. It was just that the bloodline power awakened by each Sharkman differed in strength. Moreover, this bloodline power had almost the same effect as a martial soul. However, the bloodline power relied on the inheritance of the bloodline, while the martial soul relied on the inheritance of the soul. That was the only difference. Behind the second castle master, a huge shark phantom appeared. It was 90% similar to him, and its grade had also reached the first point of the out-of-body stage. 1 breath, 1 minute, 1 moment, and so on. This was not only the time it took for the martial soul or bloodline power to leave the body, but it also represented the strength of this power. The longer the out-of-body stage, the stronger the power of the martial soul or bloodline power. Ling Xiao's mountain river martial soul was currently at the 1 breath out-of-body stage. However, after inheriting his ancient hell dragon martial soul, it had already reached the 1 breath out-of-body stage. It was even stronger than the second castle master. It was also Ling Xiao's highest grade martial soul at the moment. As the shark phantom appeared, a wave of water vapor immediately spread out from the second castle master. True essence condensed in the water vapor, causing the originally harmless water vapor to become extremely powerful. Chapter 643. In an instant, the water vapor condensed into the shadow of a giant white shark, which then pounced on Ling Xiao. Ka ka ka! Under the influence of this terrifying aura, the walls and pillars in the hall made strange noises. However, these materials looked much better than those in the slave registration office, so there were no signs of cracking. If it were the slave registration office, it would have been reduced to ruins. With his long black hair fluttering in the wind, Ling Xiao stood in the middle of the hall indifferently, not even blinking. Humph! In the next moment, Ling Xiao coldly snorted. This sound was like a dragon's roar, like thunder. The second fort lord, who was standing on the throne, actually shook his face, showing surprise. This kid's momentum is so strong, even the second fort lord can't suppress him. No wonder he dared to kill Demon General Can Shui in front of the 2 fort lords. It seems he's really strong. I guess the second fort lord and the third fort lord may not be his opponent, even if they join forces. What kind of cultivation is he? One must know that under the second fort master's aura, even a 9th layer transcendent realm divine ability realm cultivator would be injured. Yet not only is his expression unchanged, he's even able to fight back. I can't tell, he's too mysterious. In the hall, several demon generals discussed secretly, having a clearer understanding of Ling Xiao's strength. Second brother, we're not his opponent. Let's wait until boss comes out of seclusion. For now, we need to keep him calm. The third fort lord transmitted his voice to the second fort lord. You're right. This guy doesn't look strong, but he's actually very fierce. Let's wait until boss comes out of seclusion, Then the three of us can join forces to kill him. Now is not the time. The second Fort Lord also agreed with this suggestion. Then he quickly restrained his aura. Ha ha ha, good, very good. Just now, this Fort Lord was just testing your strength. Now it seems that you're absolutely qualified to be a Demon General of Demon Castle City. This is the Demon General token. It's yours in the future. Saying so, the second Fort Lord shot out a black light from his hand at an extremely fast speed. Ling Xiao raised his hand and waved it gently. When the black light reached his side, it instantly slowed down as if it had fallen into a swamp. Then it was caught in his hand. Thank you for your trust, second Fort Lord and third Fort Lord. However, I still need you to tell me what this Demon General is going to do. I'm a rather lazy person. Ling Xiao asked. Under normal circumstances, you don't have to be responsible for anything, unless there's an invasion, the second Fort Lord said, but it just so happens that a diving ship is preparing to set out to search for the Human King's cave abode. A Demon General is needed on the ship. If you're willing, you can come along. When Ling Xiao was a little excited. He didn't expect to hear what he had been dreaming of so soon. He had obviously come here to complete the sect's mission, but his main objective was to find the Human King's dwelling and the martial soul fruit. Can we leave tomorrow? Second Fort Lord asked. The second Fort Lord and third Fort Lord were afraid that they couldn't keep Ling Xiao under control, so they let Ling Xiao leave with the diving ship. When Ling Xiao returned, the first Fort Lord would probably come out of seclusion. By then, this Ling Xiao would no longer have the ability to turn the world upside down. Wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? Of course. That's good. You can stay on Levitating Island today. Of course, you can go out and have a look around. Demon Castle City is very interesting. We'll leave tomorrow morning. The second Fort Lord was relieved. He was afraid that Ling Xiao wouldn't agree. If that were the case, the next few days would definitely be difficult. Okay, then I'll go and have a look. Since he was going to leave, Ling Xiao planned to have a look around Demon Castle City. He might only come to a place like this once in a lifetime. It would be a pity if he missed it. Have you heard? Demon General Snow is dead. Of course I've heard. I think he was killed by a young man. He seems to be only 14 or 15 years old. What happened to that young man? Was he killed by the Fort Lord? Killed? Don't be stupid. Not only did he not die, but he also became the youngest Demon General. This is interesting. I heard that Demon General Snow wanted to marry Tu Yan's daughter, Tu Jiao Jiao, as a concubine. Now that he's dead, Tu Yan can relax. Who knows? Demon General Snow still has many elders and deacons under him. Ling Xiao had only left Levitating Island for an hour and had only walked around Demon Castle City a little. However, the news that he had become a Demon General had almost spread throughout the city. At the port, a few cultivators who were familiar with Tu Yan were resting and casually chatting about Demon General Snow. You said that Demon General Snow is dead? Tu Yan walked over without anyone noticing. Beside him was Tu Jiao Jiao. After the two returned from hunting, they were extremely busy. Therefore, they really didn't know what had happened outside. I say, Tu Yan, you're too uninformed. He's really dead. Moreover, he was killed by a young man. It's good that he's dead. Tu Yan let out a long sigh and said fiercely, in the past, he didn't dare to offend Demon General Snow. The other party wanted his daughter. Even if he was extremely unwilling, it was useless. In front of Demon General Snow, he didn't have the slightest room to bargain. Now, he didn't know who killed Demon General Snow. In this case, his daughter didn't have to marry that old guy. Demon General Snow was said to be at least 70 or 80 years old. His daughter was only 14 years old. That guy was definitely qualified to be his daughter's grandfather. Even more than that, he was qualified to be her great-grandfather. Marrying such a person was simply too disgusting. What's so good about it? Let your daughter marry Demon General Snow. Your family won't have to worry about food and clothing. You won't have to go out to sea to hunt. How carefree that is. He's a demon general. A woman next to him said snappily, "That's right. Look at my daughter. She's only married to an elder, but she's already living a carefree life. She can buy whatever she wants. My husband and I are also benefiting from it." Another woman said triumphantly, "Their words aren't pleasant to hear, but they're not wrong. Since you've already taken root in Demon Castle City, you might as well face reality. Look at your daughter. I don't dare to say that she's as beautiful as a fairy, but at least she's a pretty girl from a humble family. She's so beautiful. If she marries Demon General Snow, it'll be a blessing. She won't be like now, stingy with everything she buys. Bullsh asterisk T. Are you treating your daughters as goods? Do you really plan to be slaves for the rest of your life?" Although Tu Yen didn't say it out loud, he always wanted to leave this damned place. The reason why he often went out to sea to hunt was to find a way out of here. His strength wasn't enough, but he could find a way to leave. Treating his daughter as a bargaining chip to live a prosperous life? He couldn't do that kind of beast-like thing. "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect you to have such a backbone. Unfortunately, Demon General Snow is dead. You have no backing." Suddenly a complacent voice came. Chapter 644. Tu Yen turned his head, and his face couldn't help but turn gloomy. He hurriedly shielded his daughter, Tu Jiao Jiao, behind him. The newcomer was a deacon, a transcendent realm fourth layer master, someone who could kill Tu Yen with a single finger. This person had always coveted Tu Jiao Jiao, but because Demon General Shui had also taken a liking to Tu Jiao Jiao, he had always held back. Now that Demon General Shui was killed, the monkeys would scatter when the tree fell, and Demon General Shui's subordinates had basically all gone looking for new masters. The moment this deacon heard the news, he immediately ran over to find Tu Yen. "Sir Deacon, my daughter is still young and isn't in a hurry to get married. Please be magnanimous." Tu Yen's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. He knew very well that in Demon Fortress City, no one would uphold justice for a slave. Even if this deacon killed him today and took away his daughter, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. "Father, don't worry. If he dares to do anything, I will kill myself. In any case, I will never marry such a person." Tu Jiao Jiao would never forget that one of her sisters was defiled by this deacon and died a tragic death. Every time this person was angered elsewhere, he would return home and vent his anger on the women at home. The number of women who died at his hands, if not hundreds, was at least dozens. "Kill yourself." The deacon sneered. "You want to kill yourself? Weaklings don't even have the right to choose how to die. If I don't let you die, you won't die. If I let you die, you will die. Now, I will give you one last chance. Let your daughter come with me obediently. That way, everyone will be harmonious and there will be no need to be angry." The deacon stood there and looked at Tu Yen and Tu Jiao Jiao with a smile, as if everything was under his control and no one could snatch this fat piece of meat from his mouth. "My dear daughter, as your father, I have let you down." Tu Yen really couldn't bear to see his daughter being defiled by this beast dressed in human clothing in front of him, so he decided to go all out. At worst, he would die here with his daughter, ending the rest of his life happily. It was better than his daughter being tortured to death. "Father, you don't have to let me down. In the next life, we will still be father and daughter." Tu Jiao Jiao also made up her mind. Although she was young, her determination wasn't weak. Tisk tsk. What an intense passion. What a deep father-daughter relationship. What a pity. "Now you can die, Tu Yen." The deacon sneered in disdain, then leaped up and sent a palm strike towards Tu Yen. At the same time, his aura swept out in all directions, suppressing Tu Jiao Jiao to the point that she didn't even have the chance to commit suicide. Bang! Then a shocking scene occurred. The deacon was like a cockroach that had just flown up and was instantly slapped down. In midair, a figure was floating there with a cold expression on his face. "How dare you? Who are you?" The deacon stood up with great difficulty. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and reprimanded the figure in the air. However, on his face, there was an extremely terrified expression. This was very normal. Ling Zhao's attack just now had already seriously injured him. He believed that if it wasn't for the other party's hasty attack, he would have died. Ling Zhao glanced at the deacon indifferently. His eyes flashed with killing intent, and he softly said, "Scram! Bastard! Do you know that my immediate superior is Elder Tang? Although Demon General Residual Snow is dead, he is now the subordinate of another Demon General. If you dare to provoke me, you will be provoking Elder Tang and the Lord Demon General." The deacon wanted to turn around and run away, but he was unwilling to leave just like that. He knew that he was no match for Ling Zhao, but he attempted to use his status as a Demon General to intimidate him and make him retreat. In this way, not only would he save his face, but he would also save his life. "You talk too much nonsense. You have already missed the best chance to live." Ling Zhao had always hated people who violated women. Moreover, he was indebted to Tu Yan and Tu Jiaojiao. Tu Yan was his idol when he was young, a great hero. He was already very unhappy, and this guy actually dared to threaten him. He casually pointed. A qi sword flew out, and the deacon's head was instantly pierced through. "Ah, I recognize him. He is the new Demon General, the one who killed Demon General Residual Snow. No wonder he is so fierce and even dares to kill a deacon." In the crowd, someone had already recognized Ling Zhao. In front of a Demon General, a deacon was nothing. Moreover, Ling Zhao had just killed Demon General Residual Snow. His fierce reputation was simply widespread. If the deacon knew Ling Zhao, he probably wouldn't have made such a stupid mistake. This Tu Yan father and daughter are really lucky. An old Demon General Residual Snow died, and they actually made friends with a young Demon General. Now, I'm afraid no one will dare to touch them. That's right. This new Demon General is simply a malefic star. Whoever provokes him will die. No wonder he looked down on deacons. A small deacon is nothing in front of a Demon General. Both of you are frightened. If you need anything in the future, just use my name. Goodbye. Ling Zhao cupped his hands and then flew away. Only when Ling Zhao's figure disappeared in the distance did Tu Jiaojiao couldn't help but stick out her tongue and say, "So what he said was true. He is really a powerful expert. Jiaojiao, let's go. Pack up. We're going out to sea immediately." Tu Yan was also shocked for a long time. However, after a while he thought of something. Now that Ling Zhao was in Demon Fortress City, no one would dare to bully them. However, if Ling Zhao went out on a mission, they would be in trouble. The best way was to hide out at sea for a period of time and wait for Ling Zhao's submarine to return. Then they would come back. Although his cultivation wasn't high, he knew a lot of people. He had long heard that the new Demon General would leave on the submarine tomorrow. He even knew that Ling Zhao was the new Demon General. However, he didn't expect that this young man, whom he had only met once and didn't have much interaction with, would really save them. The next morning, Tu Yan's family left on the boat first. At the same time, Ling Zhao also arrived at the pier. On the same boat as him, there were two other Demon Generals. They were the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General. The Thousand Hands Demon General was a woman around 60 to 70 years old. However, she looked like she was in her 30s. She looked very charming. The Fire Wolf Demon General was the husband of the Thousand Hands Demon General. They were around the same age and looked like they were in their 30s. Their bodies were very strong. "Hello, both of you." Ling Zhao saw that the two of them were smiling at him, so his attitude was also very gentle. "Greetings to the Evil Beast Demon General." The Evil Beast Demon General was Ling Zhao's title, which was given by the second fort master. Just call me Ling Xiao. This isn't the first time the two of you are on the submarine, right? Ling Xiao asked. Chapter 645. Understood. Ling Xiao wasn't very surprised. This was the deep sea. Even if the entire ship disappeared, it wouldn't be strange. They were either eaten by some beast at the bottom of the sea or met with some other trouble. After everyone on the ship arrived, the submarine left Demon Fortress City and began the search mission at the bottom of the sea. Generally speaking, a search mission would last at most 7 days. If they didn't find anything in 7 days, they had to return. Otherwise, they would be considered dead. Ling Xiao, the Thousand Hands Demon General, and the Fire Wolf Demon General sat in the cabin, drinking tea and chatting. The three of them didn't have to worry about most things unless they met with some trouble that they couldn't solve. After all, there were elder-level martial artists outside, so the three of them didn't have to do anything. In the deep sea, everything seemed so peaceful. It was much quieter than the surface of the sea. However, this was only on the surface. The dangers in the deep sea were often hidden in the depths. If they weren't careful, the ship could be destroyed and people would die. It would be a complete tragedy. Ling Xiao seemed to be chatting, but in fact his true energy sphere had been released outside the submarine and extended out. As long as there was any strange movement, he would know immediately. At this time, the true energy sphere's feedback had a strange sound. It was like a beast's low growl. He slowly stood up. Let's go. They might not be able to solve the next problem. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General looked at each other, a little skeptical, because the two of them didn't hear any movement, nor did they feel any sound. However, after about 60 breaths, they were shocked. It's a beast, and it's very likely to be a level 9 beast. The Thousand Hands Demon General judged. Brother Ling, you're really amazing. You can actually predict the appearance of this beast. Let the submarine slow down. It's more suitable for fighting. Do you two want to do it, or should I? Ling Xiao asked. There's no need to trouble Brother Ling with such a small matter. Leave it to me. The Fire Wolf Demon General clenched his fists, and there was a hint of excitement between his brows. This guy was definitely a martial arts fanatic. In the next moment, waves were actually formed at the bottom of the sea, and a black figure wrapped in the waves quickly moved towards the submarine. At this very moment, let alone the 3 demon generals, even other martial artists could also sense that something was amiss. Watch me. The Fire Wolf Demonic General jumped out of the submarine, and a huge flaming wolf appeared behind him. Its name should have been given to it because of his martial soul. The Fire Wolf martial spirit was not bad, it looked very cool. The moment he jumped out of the submarine, Fire Wolf Demon General threw a punch through the air. That punch was actually a burning wolf-shaped flame. Bang! A huge roar sounded out, and then a shocking shock wave of true essence stirred up the sea. The submarine was like a lonely boat swaying in the sea. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and the heavenly dragon scale armor, which could only cover his body, extended more than 10 meters, covering the entire submarine. It completely shielded the ship from the damage caused by the true essence shock wave. In the deep sea, there are many fierce beasts like this. According to the information we obtained from the sea race, the beasts in the deep sea are much stronger than those on land. The Thousand Hands Demon General said to Ling Xiao. Her words could be considered as exposing the secrets of the sea race. From this, it could be seen that she actually wanted to befriend Ling Xiao. Although she was a demon general, to be honest, even a demon general was still someone's slave. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General didn't want to be like this for the rest of their lives. Roar! The sea beast in the darkness let out a roar. It was clearly injured by the Fire Wolf Demon General's punch. This guy began to stir crazily at the bottom of the sea, causing the entire sea to become turbid. Not only that, but it also formed a terrifying whirlpool, as if it was going to suck in the submarine. Exploding wolf fist. Seeing this situation, the fire wolf demon general roared. He clasped his hands together, and then his body charged out, both fists smashing into the huge monster at the same time. The monster felt pain and stopped stirring. Its body was also smashed to the bottom of the sea by this terrifying blow. Ling Xiao had already seen the appearance of this sea beast at this time. It was a very strange-looking monster. Its upper body was clearly that of a tiger, but its lower body was like a fish. Its body was extremely huge. No wonder it could cause the sea to shake so easily. However, at this time, there were obvious scorch marks on the monster's forehead, and there were also traces of dried blood. This should be the effect of the Fire Wolf Demon General's attack. Although the Fire Wolf Demon General had the upper hand in the battle, the defensive power of beasts was generally stronger than that of humans. This monster was no exception. For it, the damage just now was not too serious. One had to know that the Fire Wolf Demon General's attack could easily kill an ordinary peak, transcendent realm 9th layer cultivator. However, it was unable to seriously injure this monster. This defensive power was too amazing. Do we really not need to help? Ling Xiao glanced at the Thousand Hands Demon General and asked, "There's no need. My husband is just warming up. He likes to fight like this. In fact, if he wanted to kill this monster, he didn't need to go through so much trouble." The Thousand Hands Demon General smiled bitterly. The next moment, the Fire Wolf Demon General returned victorious. Although there were many wounds on his body, the expression on his face was very excited. Sure enough, he's a martial arts fanatic. Ling Xiao smiled. Generally speaking, martial arts fanatics were not bad people. This Fire Wolf Demon General and the Thousand Hands Demon General might really be possible to make friends with. Of course, the premise was that they returned alive. What Ling Xiao was worried about now was the possible danger that could wipe out the submarine fleet. Was it a monster, a natural disaster, or some other danger? Ah, look, it's a martial spirit fruit tree. 2 days later, after more than a dozen battles and killing more than a dozen fierce sea monsters, the submarine finally found a martial spirit fruit tree. Damn it, there's only one fruit left. Martial spirit fruit trees generally only produced 3 fruits, and they would fall the moment they ripened. As long as they fell to the ground, they would disappear completely. This was also why martial soul fruits were so difficult to find. The submarine sped up and rushed towards the martial spirit fruit tree. However, Ling Xiao was a little impatient. 2 days sounded easy, but he knew very well how many dangers there were in the process. If he didn't gain anything, then this trip would have been a waste. Therefore, he had to get this martial spirit fruit. So, Ling Xiao directly rushed towards the martial spirit fruit tree. His speed was too fast. Although the Fire Wolf Demon General and the Thousand Hands Demon General wanted to snatch it, it was already too late. Chapter 646. After carefully placing the martial soul fruit into the mountain river world, Ling Xiao uprooted the martial soul fruit tree and planted it in the mountain river world. The martial soul fruit could only ripen once every 3,000 years, but in the mountain river world, this speed would increase. A year outside was 100 years inside. Of course, this was only for spirit herbs and other plants. In other words, after 30 years, Ling Xiao would be able to obtain a new martial soul fruit. This could be considered a good investment. In any case, 30 years was just a blink of an eye in the mystic world. Brother Ling, be careful. Just as Ling Xiao was about to return to the submarine, the ground suddenly shook violently, and then a huge hole appeared at the bottom of the sea. Run! Ling Xiao shouted. He discovered a very terrifying thing. Because he had focused all his attention on the martial soul fruit tree, he had neglected his surroundings. so he didn't realize that he was actually in the nest of a giant at the bottom of the sea. The giant's body was even larger than that of a great, desolate beast. In that instant, Ling Xiao saw a glowing thing. That thing was more than 10 meters tall and several meters wide, and it was just a tooth of the giant. Then, including him and the submarine, they were all swallowed by the giant monster. Even after being swallowed into the stomach of the giant, Ling Xiao still lacked a sense of reality. This was because the giant was simply too big. Deep inside the monster's body, Ling Xiao couldn't even see the edge. It was as if he had entered a huge space. He used the true essence ball to observe and found that the submarine had been ejected out of a gap in the monster's body, other than the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General. The rest of the cultivators were all dead. There was a special corrosive gas in the giant's body. If one's cultivation wasn't enough, their body would quickly corrode and become the giant's nourishment and energy. Only the 3 demon generals were able to last until they died. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General were bumping around inside the giant's body, looking for a way out. Ling Xiao thought for a moment, then sat down cross-legged, took out the martial soul fruit and took a bite. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with it, he swallowed it. He felt that if he wanted to get out of this giant's body, he had to continue increasing his strength. Like the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General, it would only be a waste of energy. As soon as the martial soul fruit entered his stomach, a warm sensation rapidly spread through his meridians, limbs, and bones. In the end, a strange power actually fused into his spirit sea. Waves surged in his spiritual sea. That was obviously Ling Xiao's force of the soul. After eating the martial soul fruit, he could clearly sense that the sea level had actually risen by an inch. His force of the soul had increased once again, and this was only the effect of one bite. Feeling how wondrous it was, Ling Xiao ate the entire martial soul fruit with a crunch. As for how effective it would be, that would depend on the result of the digestion. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a huge amount of warm aura filled his entire body. Even more energy surged into his spirit sea in the form of raging waves, kicking up huge waves. If it was a real wave, it would be several dozen meters tall at the very least. The spirit sea was also known as the soul sea or soul realm. It was where the soul resided. It was also where the martial soul resided. It was also where the force of the soul was stored. The larger the spirit sea was, the more powerful the soul was. The effects of a single martial soul fruit were extremely shocking. Around 2 hours later, Ling Xiao opened his eyes. His eyes were extremely deep and vast. They did not seem like a pair of eyes, but a world. My force of the soul has reached the level of a cultivator of the heaven of 3 talents. The mountains and rivers martial soul and the ancient hell's dragon martial soul have actually broken through at the same time. They've both reached the astral projection realm, and this is at a level where I won't be able to completely absorb the martial soul fruit immediately. Ling Xiao was extremely shocked and overjoyed. On the surface, his cultivation did not seem to have increased, but the dual strengthening of his martial soul and soul had greatly increased his battle prowess. Not only that, but Ling Xiao discovered that the range of his true origin sphere had increased. It could now cover a radius of 15 kilometers. It was much more powerful than before. Although it was called a true origin sphere, it was actually called Earth Vision and Sky Hearing. It relied on the force of the soul. As the force of the soul increased, the range would naturally increase as well. It's a pity that there's only one martial soul fruit. Sigh, this thing really is hard to find. Ling Xiao did not need a new martial soul, so the effects of the martial soul fruit were completely used to strengthen his soul and martial soul. Standing up, Ling Xiao looked around. He did not even need to use his mountains and rivers martial soul to easily see the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General 5 kilometers away. The 2 of them were resting there. Ling Xiao thought about it and hurried over. If he wanted to leave, The three of them would work together. It was better than messing around alone. In an instant, Ling Xiao had already arrived beside the two of them. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General looked at Ling Xiao with joy. However, the moment their eyes met with Ling Xiao's, they felt dizzy and weak. It was too terrifying. Ling Xiao's pupils were like the pitch-black universe. He could actually release a substantial will. This was something that even the Yin Yang Demon King could not do. The two of them exclaimed in their hearts. Will was something that every warrior had. This was because the martial soul was transformed from will. Once a martial soul was formed, what would become an ability of the martial soul. For example, the will of a sword martial soul was the will of the sword Dao. This will could make a person's aura sharper and increase their attack power. There was nothing strange about this, but the problem was that the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General had never heard of a warrior being able to release their will through their eyes. What kind of martial souls? What was this? Why did it feel like the entire world was pressing down on them? It was suffocating. Ling Xiao smiled and withdrew the will of mountains and rivers. He was just testing it. After all, his soul power had just increased, but the will of mountains and rivers did not. It was still only 10%. However, it seemed that although it did not increase, the will of mountains and rivers had increased due to the increase in soul power and the martial soul. The two of you, let's find a way out together. Ling Xiao said indifferently, yes. Although Ling Xiao's voice was gentle, the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General had a thought that they could not resist. This was why the will of mountains and rivers was so terrifying. Of course, if the two of them used their martial souls will to resist, they could resist. However, there was no need for them to fall out with Ling Xiao here. To them, joining forces with Ling Xiao was the best choice. Otherwise, they would have to stay in this giant's body for the rest of their lives, growing stronger with the corrosive gas. Chapter 6:47. Look, what's that? The three of them carefully searched for a way out of the monster's body. After about 10 to 10 hours, the Thousand Hands Devil General cried out in alarm. About 100 meters away from the three of them was a huge sphere, shining with a resplendent golden light. It can't be the monster's inner core, right? Ling Xiao had actually sensed the existence of this thing long ago. In fact, the reason why the three of them were able to reach here was because of his guidance. It was just that he didn't know what this thing was. Impossible, it's too big. It feels like it's about the same size as Demon Castle City. The Fire Wolf Demon General couldn't connect this huge thing with an inner core. Let's go take a look. Ling Xiao took the lead and rushed over. The closer he got, the more shocking this thing looked. It was like a prototype city. When he got closer, he couldn't even see its outline. Not only that, but the closer he got to this huge sphere, the more he felt a powerful soul pressure. When Ling Xiao was about 10 meters away from this huge sphere, he felt like he had encountered a half-step Empyrean soul pressure targeting him. As for the other two, they couldn't even move an inch. Pooh! The Fire Wolf Demon General refused to admit defeat and insisted on following. In the end, the invisible soul pressure sent him flying, and he fell to the ground, vomiting blood. The Thousand Hands Devil General's situation was similar. The two of them fell to the ground and looked at the huge sphere in horror, not daring to get closer. It looks like this huge sphere should contain a very terrifying soul. The two of you shouldn't get any closer. Just stay there and heal. I'll go in and take a look. Although Ling Xiao also felt a certain amount of pressure, it was far from being unable to move forward. He kept getting closer and then soared into the sky. The moment he came into contact with the huge sphere, Ling Xiao felt like he was walking against the wind. And this wind was at the level of a super typhoon. He wanted to move forward, but this terrifying pressure wanted to send him flying and even tear him apart. Ling Xiao roared and released his dragon's aura mixed with the will of mountains and rivers. A huge ancient hell dragon phantom appeared behind him. Inch by inch, step by step, he finally tore apart the outer shell of the sphere. At this moment, the enormous spiritual pressure also disappeared. Whoosh! Ling Xiao exhaled deeply. He looked at the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General, who were seated with their legs crossed. He discovered that their eyes flickered with fear and surprise. He knew that the two of them had been intimidated by the terrifying soul pressure from before and no longer had the courage to approach the giant sphere. "You two wait outside. I'll go in and see what's going on." Ling Xiao believed that with such a terrifying soul pressure surrounding the sphere, it was enough to prove that there was a great opportunity inside the sphere. No matter what it was, he planned to go in and take a look. "Brother Ling, be careful," the Thousand Hands Devil General reminded. The soul pressure outside the sphere was already so terrifying. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the soul pressure inside the sphere would be. They didn't dare to try. Moreover, he was also worried for Ling Xiao. "Yes." Ling Xiao nodded and entered the sphere. In an instant, the torn sphere healed. Inside the sphere was a vast world. The area was definitely not inferior to the Demon Castle City. However, this wasn't a city. This was a strange place with huge monster fossils. If his judgment was correct, these fossils should be left behind from the prehistoric era. Immemorial colored peacock, immemorial giant lizard, immemorial sky-devouring shark, immemorial giant ape, immemorial demonic spider, and so on. There were more than 1,000 fossils. Every fossil had a huge soul pressure. This should be the soul power left behind after they died. However, among the thousands of fossils, hundreds of them had shattered and turned into real stones. They had lost their soul pressure and life force. There were about 200 of them intact. Ling Xiao didn't touch these fossils casually. He felt that if he touched them, something bad would happen. This was a man's intuition. It was also his intuition towards danger. He circled around these fossils and found that there was a stone house here. There were 3 words engraved on the stone house: Ji Xian Yuan. Wasn't this the name of the sacred dynasty's divine ancestor emperor, the Human King? Ling Xiao was shocked when he saw these 3 words. He didn't expect that the Human King's abode that the Sea tribe had been looking for so long would be here. Although the Human King didn't pass away here, he left behind some words. The general meaning was that these fossils were a gift he left for his descendants. As long as one touched the fossils, they could obtain the corresponding martial spirit inheritance. However, each person could only touch it once. Because the prehistoric era's fossils were too powerful, if one touched more than one, there was a possibility of a backlash. In the end, one wouldn't be like a human or a beast. Moreover, it wasn't easy to obtain these martial spirit inheritances. If the Human King didn't have the ability to obtain these martial spirit inheritances, it would only bring about a fatal disaster. Therefore, everyone who inherited these inheritances had to undergo a powerful martial spirit test. As long as they passed the test, they could survive and inherit these inheritances. The fossils would lose their energy and shatter, but if they failed, they would die here. No wonder Ling Xiao found so many corpses when he walked around. Unfortunately, the storage rings of the corpses were shattered by the terrifying power. Ling Xiao couldn't even pick up anything. Ling Xiao was most interested in the mountain river will. However, it clearly wasn't here. He used his hand to gently touch the words left behind by the Human King. His mind shook. He quickly closed his eyes and began to comprehend. Although it was only a message left behind by the Human King, it contained the Human King's will. Although it wasn't much, Ling Xiao was already very satisfied. After spending an hour, Ling Xiao completely merged the Human King's will into the mountain river will. At that moment, his mountain river will finally rose to the second level. It had clearly become stronger. In the future, it would naturally be more powerful when it came to all kinds of martial arts. After absorbing the human king's will, Ling Xiao began to search for a suitable martial spirit. He now had the ancient hell dragon martial spirit and the hell dragon's will. It could also be called dragon might. However, it clearly wasn't strong enough. It couldn't even reach the first level. Therefore, it wouldn't be of much help in battle. The mountain river will was a kind of vast and enormous pressure because it represented the entire world's will. It represented immortality and eternity. The hell dragons will represented tyranny and destruction. There was also the black metal piece in his mountain river world. Before, he didn't know what it was. He only knew that its killing intent was terrifying, but now he understood. That thing was a killing intent stained with the blood of countless ancient beasts. If it was transformed into a martial spirit, it would represent a sharpness and slaughter that could cut through everything. Chapter 648. Ling Xiao no longer needed other martial souls. He could occasionally play with them, but he wouldn't use them as a cultivation direction. What he wanted to find this time was a fossil that could raise the hell dragon's will, as well as a fossil that could allow him to completely absorb the black metal piece's will. Although the human king had reminded everyone that they could only touch one fossil at most. But he also added some words, indicating that martial artists with the mountain river martial soul could touch two fossils at most. One was the tyrannical will of destruction. The other was the sharp will of slaughter, together with the mountain river will that represented eternal immortality. This could be considered a complete set. Among the complete fossils, there was one that looked like a treasure sword. Ling Xiao knew that this was a beast called Sword Demon from the ancient times. Its body was completely made of metal and minerals. It had no facial features, no limbs, but it had a terrifying will that was so sharp that it could flatten everything. This kind of will just happened to correspond with the black metal piece's killing intent. Ling Xiao decided to choose it. I wonder what will happen after touching the fossil. Ling Xiao was on full alert. This was an attempt that could lead to death. He had to be careful because among the martial artists that were killed, there were some whose cultivation was stronger than his. There was even a heaven-tier expert in one-line sky realm. Boom! The moment he touched the fossil, Ling Xiao felt as if he had appeared on a battlefield. The sky was blood-red. The ground was also blood-red. Corpses were everywhere and mournful cries echoed. This was simply a purgatory of slaughter. Those that fell on the ground were basically all human martial artists. They were resisting the invasion of the immemorial sword demon. Kill! A terrifying soul pressure appeared, and a complete immemorial sword demon appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao knew that this was an image formed by the soul of the immemorial sword demon sealed in the fossil. It wasn't a real body, but even so, that terrifying pressure still made him feel so uncomfortable that he wanted to vomit blood. The next moment, the immemorial sword demon directly charged over. That terrifying soul pressure made Ling Xiao unable to move. The immemorial sword demon pierced through Ling Xiao. No, to be precise, it directly pierced Ling Xiao into pieces. That was because this fellow was too big. Its size was several hundred times that of Ling Xiao's. It was like using a sharp blade to stab an ant. Boom! Ling Xiao's body shattered and blood splattered everywhere. His soul seemed to be on the verge of dissipating. Puny human, how dare you oppose our sword demon clan? Die! Kill! This is my will, the unstoppable will of slaughter. The primordial sword demon was expressionless, but its voice was very clear. Humph! You're just the remnant soul of the primordial sword demon. How dare you try to crush my soul? In your dreams! Ling Xiao snorted coldly, and the red imprint that had spread out like a flower of blood quickly recovered to its original state. The terrifying mountain river world appeared on the battlefield. Soul pressure against soul pressure. The will of the mountains and rivers against the will of the sword demon. His originally shattered body actually recovered to its original state. Damn it! How could you have the will of mountains and rivers? You're a human king? No, that's not right. You're not a human king. Your will is too young. The will of the sword demon began to retreat. Facing the will of mountains and rivers, he seemed to have no strength to resist. His heart was already in chaos. His soul also became extremely weak. That's right, I'm not a human king. I will become stronger than him. Ling Xiao did not care if the other party could hear his voice, because these words were said to the primordial sword demon and also to himself. Damn it! Why do humans always have such heaven-defying geniuses? 100,000 years ago, a human king appeared, and 100,000 years later, a freak like you appeared. Amidst the sorrowful roar, the body of the sword demon fell apart, and then all of it fused into Ling Xiao's body. It fused into the black metal piece, the originally silent black metal piece, without any luster, suddenly shone brightly. Then the metal piece shattered and actually condensed into a black sharp sword. Primordial sword demons, 19th generation demon master, Yi Guxin. In that instant, Ling Xiao obtained a very clear message. This black metal piece was actually also the primordial sword demon, and it was the strongest demon master, Yi Guxin. No wonder the degree of compatibility was so good. The name Yi Guxin was given to him by the human king. Originally, the human king and Yi Guxin were also considered good friends. However, in front of friendship and clan, Yi Guxin still chose clan. And Yi Guxin was also personally killed by the human king. This could also be considered an ill-fated relationship. Martial spirit Yi Guxin, ice-cold will of slaughter, the will of the sword demon that was so sharp that it could cut through everything. Although it had just reached the first level, it already made Ling Xiao feel incomparably powerful. Ling Xiao believed that if Yi Guxin was still alive, the other party did not need to make a move at all. Just a thought could kill him hundreds of times. This was a truly terrifying powerhouse, a powerhouse that could exchange blows with a human king. Today, if not for the help of the will of mountains and rivers, Ling Xiao might not be able to subdue this terrifying will of slaughter. Yi Guxin was the demon master of the primordial sword demon race. Those who died under his hands were all experts of the primordial era, humans and primordial beasts. How terrifying his killing intent was. Only after truly experiencing it would one be able to feel it. Ling Xiao believed that with just Yi Guxin's martial spirit, he would be able to walk further on the path of the sword. As one of the martial spirits that supported the mountain and river martial spirit, Ling Xiao was very satisfied with this martial spirit. After that, Ling Xiao spent an hour familiarizing himself with Yi Guxin's martial spirit and tried to control the will of the sword demon. An hour later, he stood up and continued to search for his next target. A moment later, he stood in front of a fossil. Just by approaching it, he could feel an extremely terrifying destructive aura from this fossil. It was a feeling that could destroy everything. It was incomparably domineering and extremely powerful. Primordial god of destruction. This was the god of the primordial beast of destruction race. From the moment this race was born, it was for destruction. Endless destruction. To them, there was no point in doing anything other than destroying. The image of the primordial god of destruction was not quite the same as what Ling Xiao had imagined. Its figure was not tall and looked like an upright mouse. However, when it appeared, it gave off an aura that was even more terrifying than the primordial sword demon. It did not lose out to Yi Guxin at all. Human? Insignificant ant? Gods were indeed different. This kind of high and mighty expression was not faked at all. His aura was absolutely terrifying and domineering. After just one sentence, a ferocious will pounced on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao stood there, his entire body's battle intent soaring. After fusing with Yi Guxin's soul, Ling Xiao's personality had an additional untamed and cold fearlessness. The will of a human king was eternal and immortal. It was inclusive. Chapter 649. It was completely different from the human king's will of mountains and rivers and Yi Guxin's sword demon will. The ancient god of destruction's will was domineering, cold, and supercilious. He would destroy anyone who made him unhappy. Boom! Ling Xiao's body disintegrated once again. This time it was even more thorough than before, almost becoming a speck of dust in the air. His soul was also rapidly disintegrating. He suddenly felt as if he had lost all will to resist, allowing his soul to be eaten away by the terrifying will of destruction. Suddenly, in the depths of his soul, a bright light shone like the sun in the night. That was not the will of mountains and rivers, nor the sword demon will, but Ling Xiao's own will. Since young, he had suffered a lot, but never gave up. His own will represented strength, represented never giving up. Fight! In the next moment, his disintegrating body rapidly healed again. The most peculiar thing was that his will was like a red sun, while the will of mountains and rivers and sword demon were like stars revolving around this red sun. The three forces merged into one and slammed into the ancient god of destruction's will. Why? Why can a puny human's will defeat my will? I'm the god of destruction. The god of destruction. Boom! Amidst his unwilling roar, the ancient god of destruction's body disintegrated, completely disappearing. Then this powerful will merged into the ancient hell dragon martial soul. The two combined, condensing into an even stronger will. Third level will of destruction. In an instant, it reached the third level, one level higher than the will of mountains and rivers, and 2 levels higher than the sword demon will. As expected of a god, even if this god strength was not comparable to the immemorial 9 mystical dragons, it was still stronger than most of the kings of the immemorial tribes. Therefore, after his will merged with the ancient hell dragon, it was naturally stronger. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, Ling Xiao felt a violent roar in his spirit sea. He looked inwardly in horror and found that the ancient hell dragon and Yi Guxin were fighting. No wonder the human king warned that it was best to only touch one fossil. Otherwise, it would definitely backfire. These two fellows were fighting in Ling Xiao's spirit sea. Once they went crazy, Ling Xiao estimated that his soul would be greatly damaged and eventually completely shattered. Long too, Yi Guxin, long time no see. Just as Ling Xiao was worrying about how to resolve this matter, another image appeared in his spirit sea. This figure was dressed in flowing white robes and had shoulder-length black hair. Although he looked like an ant in front of the primordial hell dragon and the primordial sword demon lord, his aura was stronger than both of them. It was as if he was the entire world and the world was him. A perfect world of mountains and rivers condensed behind him. Not only was it rich and colorful, but its power was also extremely terrifying. Human king. It was actually a human king. Despicable Ji Xianyuan, it's actually you. So you're the one who helped this brat subdue me. The ancient hell dragon's true name was actually Dragon Slayer. It was indeed a very domineering name. Big brother human king, I never thought that we would meet again. This time, I must spar with you again. Yi Guxin looked at the human king excitedly. Human king Ji Xianyuan glanced at Ling Xiao and smiled. Dragon Slayer, you're wrong. My mountain river martial soul is completely different from his. Moreover, he subdued you with his own ability. It has nothing to do with me. But today, since he found the stone house where I used to cultivate, I'll help him. What do you mean? You want to fight the two of us alone? Dragon Slayer snorted. That's right. The human king's image smiled. Although they were communicating with their soul power, the entire process was within Ling Xiao's body. Therefore, Ling Xiao could hear everything clearly. Ha ha ha, then let's fight. Anyway, I'm the last remnant of my consciousness. Before I completely disappear, it's not bad to destroy your consciousness. Dragon Slayer laughed loudly. Big brother Human King, then I'm sorry. Yi Gushin naturally understood the Human King's strength, so he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with the Human King fighting the two of them alone. Although the battle between experts from 100,000 years ago was only a competition between remnant souls, it was almost impossible to see it. Ling Xiao felt that his breathing was a little irregular. However, these three guys were too unscrupulous. If you want to fight, then fight. Why do you have to cause trouble in someone else's spirit sea? My head hurts. Boom! Three extremely terrifying forces soared into the sky in the spirit sea. Ling Xiao felt that his head was about to split open. Destroy everything. Kill. This was probably the first time Dragon Slayer and Yi Gushin had joined forces in 100,000 years. However, on the battlefield, they had joined forces to kill many human experts. Therefore, their joint attack was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. This kind of power was even more powerful. It was 3 to 4 times stronger than when they attacked alone. Whether it's destruction or killing, you can't escape the mountain river world. The Human King slowly raised his hand. An incomparably vast and terrifying will burst out, as if the sky was pressing down. It was as if the entire world had been turned upside down, pressing down on Dragon Slayer and Yi Gushin. In front of this terrifying will, Dragon Slayer and Yi Gushin's wills began to gradually collapse and disappear. Ji Xianyuan, you son of a B***TCH, are really powerful. Big brother, 100,000 years have passed, and I'm still not your match. Dragon Slayer and Yi Gushin's voices were still echoing in Ling Xiao's mind, but their remnant self-consciousness had completely disappeared. This was necessary. Only when their remnant self-consciousness completely disappeared would Ling Xiao be able to completely control these two martial souls. You're Ling Xiao, right? The Human King's image also gradually disappeared, but he still had time to say a few words to Ling Xiao. Yes, your mountain and river martial spirit was originally inherited from me. However, it was broken and then rebuilt. It has completely become something that belongs to you. That is a world. How that world will develop will depend entirely on you. At most, there is no need to be constrained by my way of fighting. The Human King slowly said. Junior understands. To be able to receive guidance from the Human King was undoubtedly a kind of glory. Moreover, what the other party said was right. After the mountain river martial soul was broken and rebuilt, it was almost a barren land. Everything had to be created by oneself. As for what kind of mountain river world he could obtain, that was Ling Xiao's problem. The Human King could not help, nor could he help. Then goodbye. After saying that, the Human King's image completely disappeared and merged into Ling Xiao's mountain river martial soul, completely losing his self-consciousness. Thank you, Your Majesty. Ling Xiao felt the Human King's consciousness completely disappear. At the same time, the three wills had completely become his. Chapter 650. Yi Gushin's inheritance was undoubtedly the inheritance of the way of the sword. It was very beneficial to Ling Xiao's development of the way of the sword. The immemorial god of destructions was completely compatible with the immemorial Hell Dragon, so Ling Xiao merged it into the immemorial Hell Dragon's will. It was of great help to the destructive power of his martial skills. About an hour later, Ling Xiao felt that he had gained a lot. Although he couldn't completely digest these two inheritances so quickly, it was still of great help to his martial arts. At this time, the immemorial god of destructions and the immemorial sword demon's fossils had already collapsed. Although Ling Xiao wanted to put all the remaining fossils into the mountain river world, it was obviously impossible. A man who was never content was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. The end result was naturally a tragedy. Ling Xiao shook his head gently, turned around and walked out. When he came out of the giant sphere, Ling Xiao found that the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General were still recuperating. However, the two of them had more medicinal herbs in their hands, and they looked quite rare. He was probably looking for it in the vicinity when he was bored. Ling Xiao had no intention of snatching these medicinal herbs. He had obtained the martial soul fruit, found the human king's cave, and obtained the immemorial god of destructions and the immemorial sword demon's inheritances. He was already very satisfied. Brother Ling, what's the situation inside? Seeing Ling Xiao come out, the Thousand Hands Demon General asked excitedly. Ling Xiao felt that there was no need to hide it, so he told the two of them the situation inside. Anyway, there were capable people in this place, so he didn't want to hide it. Unfortunately, after he said it, the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General went crazy. They envied Ling Xiao, but they couldn't go in themselves. Because of the lack of soul power, they didn't even have the chance to get close to the giant sphere. You really don't want to go in and try? I can help you enter the sphere. Ling Xiao asked with a smile. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General looked at each other and said gratefully, No, thank you for your kindness, Brother Ling. But we know what we're capable of. Even if we really go in, I'm afraid we'll die if we touch those fossils. The two of us don't have too many goals. We're already satisfied that we can reach the celestial realm. That's right. We can't even withstand the soul pressure of the giant sphere. From what you've said, the soul pressure of the fossils inside is dozens of times stronger. If the two of us go in, we'll definitely die. Although Fire Wolf Demonic General was unwilling, he suppressed the impulse in his heart and chose the most rational choice. Ling Xiao secretly praised them. Sometimes, people also had to have self-awareness. These two people did a good job. If it wasn't supposed to be his, then he shouldn't force it. Otherwise, he would be courting death. I respect your choice. Ling Xiao nodded. May I ask, Brother Ling, did you succeed in touching the fossils? After asking this question, the Fire Wolf Demon General suddenly felt that he was really stupid. If he didn't succeed, then he would have died inside. Now that Ling Xiao had come out, then he must have succeeded. I succeeded, but the difficulty was still very high. I felt like my soul was being torn apart by something. If I wasn't careful, I might have died inside. Ling Xiao said with some emotion. But after the first fossil inheritance succeeded, the second one was relatively easier. Oh, what did you say? You actually inherited 2 inheritances? The Thousand Hands Demon General looked at Ling Xiao in disbelief. He felt like he was looking at a monster. You can say that. If it wasn't for the human king leaving behind a trace of will to help me get through the difficulties, I really would have died inside. Ling Xiao purposely said this to test the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General. In fact, it didn't matter if outsiders knew about this. But if the two of them reported this to the sea race, then he would be too disappointed. He wanted to bring the two of them out. As the 2 protectors of the Divine Sword Sect, they would have the same status as Long Qin and Lin Bei. He had to make sure that the 2 of them had enough trust. All right, let's not talk about that anymore. I found a way to leave this monster's body inside. You 2 get ready, let's go. Since Ling Xiao had absorbed the remnant will of the human king, then he knew how the human king had entered from the outside and how he had left. It turned out that there was a teleportation array in the monster's body that could directly lead to the vicinity of the Demon Castle City. In fact, the Demon Castle City had already existed 100,000 years ago. It was just that it had been renovated and reactivated recently. That's great, Brother Ling. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid we would have to stay in this damn thing's stomach for the rest of our lives. The Thousand Hands Demon General was really grateful to Ling Xiao because she felt that her skin had already begun to corrode. Although it wasn't too serious now, who knew if it would completely corrode and rot if it continued? Ling Xiao smiled and brought the two of them to the teleportation array. After repairing it a little, the three of them poured their true essence into it. The teleportation array activated and they left the monster's body at the same time. When they reappeared, they were already in the sea about 10 miles away from the demon castle city. There were basically no sea beasts that could threaten the safety of the three of them. Ha ha ha, that's great. The teleportation array's exit is actually so close to the demon castle city. It seems like someone has used it before. Brotherling, you really are our lucky star. After the fire wolf demon general looked around, he was immediately overjoyed. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, "Let's go. Let's return to the demon castle city first." Right now, he had an urge to give it a try. Before, because he hadn't found the martial soul fruit and the human king's cave, he didn't want to wreak havoc in the demon castle city. But now, things were different. Not only did he obtain the martial soul fruit, but he also planted the martial soul fruit tree in the mountain river world. He also found the human king's cave and obtained a powerful inheritance. Now he was satisfied. What he needed to do next was to completely destroy the demon castle city in the sea and save the humans. He wasn't a great hero, but he had dreamed of being one since he was young. He didn't care if others regarded him as a hero or not. He just thought that being a hero was fun. He just wanted to be one and didn't need others to acknowledge him. He didn't want to live for others. So. The three of them sped up on the sea and headed towards the demon castle city. It was only 10 miles. For 3 transcendent realm cultivators, it wouldn't take too long. At the same time, in the palace of the demon castle city. Oh, the 3 of them actually came back alive? What a miracle! The demon castle's great castle master had already come out of seclusion. There was a hint of surprise in his cold eyes. Originally, he wanted to say that Ling Xiao had died outside, but he didn't expect that this little brat could actually come back alive. According to his past experience, as long as someone could come back alive from outside, they would often have huge gains. He believed that these 3 people were no exception. Chapter 651. Let's not talk about the other 2 for the time being. This Ling Xiao's things must be obtained before killing him. Quickly pass down the order. Tell the 3 of them to meet me in the Great Hall immediately. The Great Fort Lord had a plan and ordered his subordinates to summon Ling Xiao, Thousand Hands Demon General and Fire Wolf Demon General. Because he was worried that Ling Xiao would escape, he specially ordered the 3rd and 2nd Fort Lord to follow behind him. However, he obviously worried too much. Ling Xiao soon brought the Thousand Hands Demon General and Fire Wolf Demon General to the Great Hall. In the Great Hall, only the Great Fort Lord, the 2nd Fort Lord, and the 3rd Fort Lord who had just rushed back were present. The rest were dismissed. The Seafolk clan naturally didn't want humans to have a share of the good things. Even their lackeys, the Ninja clan and the Blue Eyes clan, were not allowed. Greetings to the 3 Fort Lords. The Thousand Hands Demon General and Fire Wolf Demon General half knelt on the ground and cupped their hands. Ling Xiao just nodded slightly and didn't have the intention to kneel at all. The 2nd Fort Lord was obviously dissatisfied when he saw this, but he was stopped by the Great Fort Lord. Anyway, Ling Xiao was going to die soon. There was no need to make a fuss over such a small matter. Since the 3 of you came back alive, you must have obtained a lot of good things. Hand them over, and you can go back and rest. The Great Fort Lord said faintly, "What?" The Thousand Hands Demon General and Fire Wolf Demon General were shocked. In the past, although they had to hand over 1/3 of the things they obtained, they didn't hand over all of it like this time. Ling Xiao sneered. He had already expected this kind of thing. With the greed of the Seafolk clan, they would naturally do such a thing. Great Fort Lord, didn't you only hand over 1/3 of it before? Fire Wolf Demon General's temper is more impulsive, so he directly asked. Although he and the Thousand Hands Demon General's harvest wasn't as big as Ling Xiao's. They still collected a lot of spiritual flowers and herbs. They wouldn't hand it all over even if they were beaten to death. Humph! There are hundreds of people who went out with you three, but only the three of you came back. This fort lord hasn't punished you yet. Now it's your turn to bargain. The great castle lord snorted and said, "If you hand it over, your crimes will be written off and you can even get some rewards. If you don't hand it over, only death awaits you." At this time, he had completely revealed a ferocious expression. He did not hide it at all. It could be said that he was completely revealing his ferocious side. The Thousand Hands Devil General and Fire Wolf Devil General turned pale. For the sake of those medicinal herbs, they had almost lost their lives. Now, the great castle master actually wanted to use this as an excuse to take over all of them. It was really hard for them to accept. However, the fear of the sea race that had formed over a long period of time made it impossible for them to face the great castle master's ferocious might directly. Just as they were about to agree, a voice rang out. "Humph! What a baseless accusation!" Ling Xiao coldly snorted and said, "What reason do we have to give you 3C tribes something that we risked our lives for? Don't forget, this is human territory. You've crossed the line." Although this was the bottom of the sea, it was shallow water and still belonged to the human territory. The sea race lived in the deep sea. Nonsense. Because I'm stronger than all of you. If you don't hand it over, it's a capital offense. The great castle lord shouted loudly. That's right, a capital offense. The second castle lord also echoed. What a joke. Just 3 small fish and shrimps dare to behave atrociously in the human territory. Do you really think there's no one in the human tribe? Ling Xiao had just checked. Because the great castle lord had a fierce confrontation with the celestial realm expert of the Sword King sect. Although his injuries were completely healed, his cultivation had dropped a lot. He had dropped from a half-step celestial master with 90% of his strength to a half-step celestial master with 40% of his strength. This cultivation was just right for him to practice his skills. He did not even need to use the seal card. Therefore, he was not afraid of this guy at all. Moreover, he had come back this time to cause trouble for the sea race, not to hand over any taxes. The great castle lord, the second castle lord, and the third castle lord all burst into laughter when they heard Ling Xiao's words. They deeply sympathized with Ling Xiao for overestimating himself. The great castle lord smiled. "I've even killed celestial realm experts before, let alone you, a mere transcendent. Forget it. Since you want to defy our sea race, I'll let everyone know what the consequences of defying the sea race are." Asterisk Kacha. Asterisk as he spoke. He suddenly stood up and the chair beneath him cracked open. He was also a shark man, the same race as the second castle lord. However, in terms of bloodline awakening, he was much more powerful than the second castle lord. It was obvious that the image of the giant shark behind him was even clearer, and the pressure it exuded was even stronger. In the moment of his fury, a stream condensed from water actually revolved around him. It was an extremely strange sight. "Ling Xiao, kneel down right now and offer up what you've obtained, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets." The great castle lord did not take action immediately, not because he feared Ling Xiao, but because he was afraid of damaging the martial soul fruit in battle. That would be troublesome. However, if Ling Xiao refused to listen to him, he could only take action. Even if he had to destroy the martial soul fruit, he could not let Ling Xiao leave. "Big brother, why waste words with him? Just kill him." The second castle lord said loudly. "The two of you, keep an eye on the Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General. Don't say anything." The great castle lord glared at the second castle lord before continuing to stare at Ling Xiao. The water around him became faster and faster. It was only a stream before, but now it had truly become a torrential river. From the looks of it, it seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. As he spoke, he did not waste any time. Instead, he was secretly accumulating power. Whether Ling Xiao handed it over or not, he would definitely take action. Originally, you might have been able to live a little longer and deliver a message to the Yin-Yang Demon King. But it looks like you won't have that chance anymore. I'll find someone else to deliver the message. Ling Xiao suddenly smiled in response to the great castle lord's threat. Very good. Since you want to die, don't blame me for being merciless. No matter how even-tempered the great castle lord was, he could not endure Ling Xiao's provocation. His fury immediately erupted like a volcano, and the water around him immediately turned into a white shark that lunged towards Ling Xiao. In terms of power, it was much greater than the second castle lord's attack. The attack was filled with hatred. Even a half-step celestial exalt with only 10 or 20% of his strength would not dare to take it head-on. However, Ling Xiao only watched the great castle lord's attack. He had no intentions of taking action, nor did he have any intentions of summoning his sword. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and the almost tangible will of destruction shot out. Bang! It was just 2 gazes, but the great white shark was smashed into pieces. Even the walls of the hall began to crack. This was a hall that was protected by a special magic array. Furthermore, it was made of special materials. Yet it had cracked open just like that. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 652. Pung. Kacha! The great castle lord's body smashed through the chair and then the wall, embedding himself in it. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. This Ling Xiao's cultivation was at most in the 9th layer of the transcendent realm, but with just 2 glances, he was able to make him so embarrassed. The great castle lord couldn't believe this was real. How could a glare be so powerful? How could a glare directly injure someone? Even if his cultivation had dropped to 30% of his strength, a mere 9th layer transcendent realm cultivator couldn't compete with him. It seemed that this Ling Xiao was really strange. No wonder this guy dared to be so disrespectful to him. It turned out that he had such a terrifying trump card. Humph! With a cold snort, the great castle lord broke free from the wall. He wasn't injured. Just now, he didn't expect Ling Xiao's glare to be able to injure him, which was why he was so embarrassed. In fact, he wasn't injured much, just a little dizzy, but he recovered in a moment. Ling Xiao, I admit that you're very strong, beyond my expectations, but do you really think you can defeat this great castle lord? You talk too much nonsense. Ling Xiao showed a disdainful sneer. It seemed that many self-righteous cultivators would say this, and he had met several of them. Damn it, you forced me to do this. Boom. At that moment, the great castle lord's aura became even more powerful, and the water around his body turned into a curtain of water that completely covered his body. Then, a trident appeared in his hand. It was obvious that it was a treasure-grade artifact. If a master of this level didn't even have a treasure-grade artifact, it would be too shameful. However, this guy's treasure-grade artifact was different from the ones Ling Xiao had seen before. There was a water-blue gem embedded in his treasure-grade artifact. It was this gem that caused the power of the trident to increase by nearly 2 times. You've never seen this gem before, right? It's called the Heart of the Ocean, a specialty of our Sea Clan. It has different attributes and grades, and when embedded in different artifacts, it will produce different effects. The great castle lord said with a sinister smile. Do you want to know the use of this Heart of the Ocean? I'm sorry, but you'd better be a confused ghost. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and casually took out the ice dragon sword. He really had to be serious when dealing with the great castle lord. Otherwise, he might be in danger. You guessed right. We did gain a lot of benefits from this trip to the sea. Now, I'll use you to test its power and sharpen my sword. Ling Xiao looked at the first castle lord with a somewhat mocking expression. Arrogant. Take this. The great castle lord gripped the trident with both hands, and a fierce water-type true essence continuously poured into it. Then he instantly thrust it out. The giant shark phantom behind him let out a deep roar, obviously increasing the attack power of this strike by quite a bit. While the trident was still in midair, its ferocious power had already caused the entire hall to collapse. The large hall, which was originally filled with cracks, was unable to withstand such a terrifying force at this moment and finally collapsed. Then the water spread throughout the entire hall, submerging more than half of the hall. To the sea race, water was life and also the source of power. The power is not bad, but it's useless. Ling Xiao stabbed out with his sword, and a cold chill immediately spread throughout the entire hall. Ding, ding, dang, dang. Boom, 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 boom. The continuous sounds of collisions were accompanied by continuous, thunderous explosions. In just an instant, Ling Xiao had already exchanged dozens of blows with the great castle lord. Both of them wanted to attack each other, but neither of them could directly attack each other. Thus, the explosions caused by the collision of the two weapons occurred. The hall, which was originally almost completely collapsed, could no longer hide the battle here. The entire hall was completely shattered into pieces, so much so that countless people near and far could feel the terrifying battle aura here. Who dares to make a move in the demon castle's hall? The first to react were naturally the remaining demon generals and elders. They really couldn't believe that someone would actually make a move in the demon castle's hall. That was where the 3 castle lords were. In an instant, almost all the demon generals and elders had arrived near the demon castle's hall. When they saw Ling Xiao, everyone was shocked. It's actually this brat. How many lives does he have to dare to provoke the great castle lord? A demon general cried out in alarm. Hee. When the 2nd castle lord and 3rd castle lord gave this brat the position of demon general, they had already discussed that when the great castle lord came out of seclusion, they would kill this thief. Now, the great castle lord should be cleaning up the house. Another demon general sneered. If the great castle lord makes a move, this brat is dead for sure. Ha ha ha, that's right. This brat has never seen the terror of the great castle lord, so he is so bold. After suffering once, he will know what death means. The fire wolf demon general, standing at the side, couldn't listen anymore. He said coldly, "Are you all blind? The great castle lord has already used the jade water trident, but he still can't do anything to Brother Ling." That's right. Brother Ling didn't use his full strength. The 1,000 Hands demon general nodded. Bullsh *T. What benefits did this Ling brat give the 2 of you to speak up for him? Is he worthy of being compared to my big brother? Don't forget what my big brother's real killing move is. He hasn't used it yet. The 2nd castle lord glared at the 1,000 Hands demon general and fire wolf demon general angrily. That's right. Once the boss uses his killing move, even a one-line sky realm master will be seriously injured. Not to mention this Ling Xiao is just a transcendent realm cultivator. The 3rd castle lord also said, "The 2 castle lords are right. In fact, this brat was killed by the great castle lord's ordinary martial skill. If the great castle lord used his killing move, this brat wouldn't even have a bone left." That's true. I was lucky enough to see the great castle lord's killing move with my own eyes. It was really terrifying. No one under the transcendent realm could survive it. The 1,000 Hands demon general and fire wolf demon general were also worried about Ling Xiao, because they knew very well that the great castle lord had a defensive artifact. Once it was activated, its defensive power would reach the peak of the transcendent realm. Although his cultivation had regressed, his defensive power would not. In that case, Ling Xiao could only be beaten up. They didn't know whether Ling Xiao had a way to deal with it. They could only secretly pray to the heavens for protection. If Ling Xiao won, they would naturally be fine. If Ling Xiao lost or died, then they would definitely be unlucky. It could be said without a doubt that they and Ling Xiao were already in the same boat. If one fell, they would all fall, and if one rose, they would all rise. After a long battle, the great castle lord became more and more furious. What's more, there were more and more onlookers. As the great castle lord of Demon Castle City, if he couldn't even deal with a rebellious human brat, where would his face go? So he didn't intend to hold back. Chapter 653. Brat, to be able to withstand more than 100 moves from this fort lord. You are the first human to be able to do this in so many years. However, this fort lord is tired of it. You should also go and die, lowly and insignificant human. The wild shark had appeared. The great castle lord waved the jade water, trident with both hands, and streams of violent water continued to condense on the trident. The water continued to compress and mix, and actually quickly formed a ferocious great white shark. Novel! La, the white shark roared, bringing along the seawater in the hall, and pounced towards Ling Xiao from all directions, just in time to try out the shadow sword art, move that I just comprehended. Ling Xiao had obtained Yi Guxin's sword inheritance, and that was not without any gains. All this time he had been unable to comprehend even half a move of the shadow sword art, so he had no choice but to use the snow lotus sword art to fight. But it was different now. Shadow sword art? Sword demon descends. The ice dragon's sword entered its sheath, and the overflow rain sword was unsheathed. The sword demon descends contained an infinitely terrifying blood aura. Blood fell like rain, causing the surroundings to become extremely eerie and terrifying. This move, the most suitable sword, was the rain attribute overflow rain sword. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had completed the 2 steps of changing swords. Immediately the sword light exploded, and a human-shaped sword chi broke through the air. Who else could it be but Yi Guxin? Bang, bang, bang. The terrifying human-shaped sword chi directly clashed with the huge white shark, and a series of explosive sounds were heard. The great white shark was actually completely suppressed by the blood-colored, human-shaped sword chi. Of course, this move was the great castle lord's killing move after all. Its power was extremely terrifying, and it contained the energy of the ocean's heart, so it could still hold on for a while. However, it was a pity. The human-shaped sword chi that Ling Xiao released was simply too terrifying, and it came one after another, as if it would never stop. Coupled with the terrifying addition of the overflow rain sword, the huge white shark's body was quickly torn apart and completely shattered. Not only that, one of the great castle lord's arms was also chopped off by the human-shaped sword chi. Ah, dash! Impossible! The great castle lord screamed, unable to believe what had just happened. How could this be? How could this be? That was my killer move. I condensed all of my strength into it. No one in the transcendent realm should be able to break it. He really couldn't believe it, because his berserk shark manifestation had killed a lot of people. Even a one-line sky expert would not be able to defeat it head-on. What was even more incomprehensible to him was that the defense he was so proud of had been broken so easily, and one of his arms had even been dismembered. There must be some kind of a mistake. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Grand Castle Master, who was almost crazy, condensed his true essence again and unleashed a powerful mad shark reveal. Now, the sword, the great, the battle to end, the battle to the end. Ling Xiao shook his head in disappointment. He, the great Yi, to the castle, the great Yi, actually, he was slightly surprised as well. That move, Sword Demon Descends, was actually so terrifying. A single sword strike was able to release 13 human-shaped sword chis, one after another, causing his opponent to be completely overwhelmed. The shadow sword art combined with Yi Guxin's martial soul was really too terrifying. Seeing the great castle lord attack again, Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully and casually swung his sword again. Before the great castle lord could finish his sword move, another human-shaped sword chi flew out. This time, the great white shark was shattered even more cleanly. The human-shaped sword chi pounced on the great castle lord again. Asterisk kacha. Asterisk the great castle lord's other arm was also chopped off. He screamed and knelt on the ground. What? The great castle lord was defeated so easily. Am I seeing things? How is this possible? Amazing! This sword move is too terrifying. Not only did it break the great castle lord's killing move, it even chopped off his arm. This kid is too ruthless. Although the great castle lord's cultivation has dropped, he shouldn't be so weak. This kid is too strange. The great castle lord had lost both his arms and was almost a cripple. At that moment, the surroundings fell into a dead silence. The next moment, the dead silence turned into all kinds of exclamations and gasps. Voices of discussion rose and fell one after another. The second castle lord couldn't accept the current situation. He had fought with Ling Xiao before, although it was only a confrontation of qi, and he admitted that he was no match for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao wasn't so powerful at that time. It had only been a few days. Did this kid really find a secret treasure? Shut up, all of you. Boss won't lose. He just lost 2 arms. Don't forget that boss is a shark man. The second castle lord roared crazily. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General looked at each other and saw the ecstasy in each other's eyes. Although they had pinned their hopes on Ling Xiao, they really didn't expect that Ling Xiao could be so powerful. This was simply too powerful. Not only was he far more powerful than them, but he had also beaten the great castle lord into a pulp. Unless the great castle lord recovered his original strength, he was no match for Ling Xiao at all. Ah! The great castle lord, whose hair was disheveled, burst out a powerful qi that was suffocating. The seawater soared into the sky, forming a huge water curtain. The great castle lord, who had lost both his arms, stood up again. Not only that, but his qi had increased a lot. A half-step celestial master with 60% of his strength? What kind of strange method did this guy use to increase his strength to such a high level again? Although he hadn't fully recovered, a half-step celestial master with 60% of his strength really put a lot of pressure on Ling Xiao. With his current strength, he might not be able to defeat the great castle lord even if he transformed into the primordial golden dragon form. The great castle lord looked at Ling Xiao in the distance with a ferocious face and shouted, "Boy, you're strong! Really strong. Even though my strength has decreased, you should be proud of yourself for being able to beat me into such a sorry state with the strength of a 9th level transcendent realm cultivator. Unfortunately, you didn't kill me and gave me a chance to unleash my full potential. I have a celestial grade defensive artifact with the heart of the ocean embedded in it. Now you're dead." Half-step celestial master with 60% of his strength. As expected of the great castle lord, he has such a trump card. Ha ha ha, that boy is dead. Well done, boss. In this way, that boy named Ling Xiao will have no chance to make a comeback. That's right. A half-step celestial master with 60% of his strength and a powerful defensive artifact. How can this Ling Xiao compare with the great castle lord? In the end, some people were really used to being slaves. When someone was able to challenge their master, what they showed was not joy, but jealousy, anxiety, and even resentment. Chapter 654. I'll take your heart of the ocean. Ling Xiao was now very interested in the heart of the ocean. Novel. Unfortunately, this thing could only be produced in the deep sea, and there were very few of them. He had stayed in the Demon Castle City for a while and found that only the great castle lord had the heart of the ocean, and there were only 2 of them. If he got it, it would definitely be of great help to him. After all, in the world of sex, it was impossible to not have combat strength. Potential was very important, But at this stage, a strong combat strength was also very important. Shameless boasting. With my current cultivation and defensive magic treasure, what can you use to fight me? Mad shark manifestation. Fury of huge waves. The great castle lord looked at Ling Xiao with disdain, and then used almost 90% of his vital essence on this brand new move. This was the killer move of the killer moves. This was his strongest move. However, if he wanted to use this move, he would not be able to defend himself. But the great castle lord believed that with his defensive magic treasure and his current cultivation, even if he did not care about defense, Ling Xiao could not hurt him. The aqua trident pierced out again, and an even more terrifying great white shark pounced on Ling Xiao, accompanied by a huge wave that wanted to completely drown Ling Xiao. What can I use to fight you? You're really stupid to the extreme. Do you really think you're the only one with a trump card? Ling Xiao suddenly took out a seal card. This was the seal card of the Transcendent Swordsman, and there was only one use left. The Transcendent Swordsman was a half-step celestial venerable with 50% of his strength. Although he was not as strong as the great castle lord, Ling Xiao did not expect him to defeat his opponent directly. As long as he could weaken the opponent's attack power, that would be enough. As soon as the Transcendent Swordsman appeared, a terrifying saber intent spread throughout the hall. The huge saber blade broke through the void and chopped on the great white shark's head. The great castle lord's attack was instantly stopped. Ling Xiao entered his human dragon form at this time, and then took a deep breath. The overflow rain sword in his hand kept trembling, and then there was actually a blood-red water flow wrapped around the sword. Behind him, the shadow of a huge black sword appeared. That was the strongest demon master of the immemorial sword demon clan, Yi Guxin. Under everyone's shocked gazes, a terrifying killing intent spread out, and the entire hall began to tremble. Whoosh! Whoosh! The terrifying killing intent actually drove the broken objects in the surroundings to shoot towards the great castle lord. What was even more terrifying was that the weapons in the hands of many elders who were watching couldn't be controlled. They forcefully broke through the restrictions of the storage rings and flew out. Wrapped in Ling Xiao's overwhelming killing intent, they shot towards the great castle lord. It was still the shadow sword technique. It was still the sword demon descending. Bang! The first human-shaped sword chi, together with the transcendent blades man, sent the first castle lord flying, causing him to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. The so-called powerful defense could only ensure that the great castle lord's body wouldn't be pierced, but the terrifying killing intent still caused the great castle lord to suffer serious injuries. Kacha! The second human-shaped sword chi, together with the transcendent saberman, finally tore apart the defense of the great castle lord. Large cracks immediately appeared on the glass-like blue defensive shield. Break for me! The third human-shaped sword chi completely merged with the saber chi of the transcendent saberman, splitting the great castle lord's body into two halves. Even so, the ferocious great castle lord was still alive, and his wounds were still healing. Indeed, the vitality of the sea race was more tenacious than that of the human race. Or was it because of the effect of that defensive magic treasure? No matter what, the great castle lord was now in such a sorry state. He was not far from death. What are you all still standing there for? Hurry up and attack. There's no need to talk about Jianghu morality. Let's join hands and kill this brat. He must have a treasure on him. At this moment, the great castle lord had completely lost the confidence to defeat Ling Xiao. He actually called for the onlookers to join hands and deal with Ling Xiao. There was no other way. Ling Xiao gave him too much pressure. There was also that mysterious ceiling card, which he couldn't understand at all. Now, unless his cultivation recovered to its peak, he would definitely not be a match for Ling Xiao. This young man had completely broken his understanding of human cultivators, as well as his usual pride. Therefore, he could only ask for help from others. What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and attack. Do you all want to die? The second castle lord roared. Perhaps it was because Ling Xiao's strength was too terrifying that those who supported the great castle lord were now terrified. Hearing the great castle lord's request for help, they didn't dare to attack. But the second castle lord and the great castle lord have both been defeated. What's the use of us going up? If we can't kill him, we'll all die. Someone muttered. A bunch of idiots. Do you think he didn't consume any energy after fighting with the great castle lord for such a long time? He's already an arrow at the end of its flight. He's just pretending to be calm. As long as we join hands, we'll definitely be able to kill him. The third castle lord scolded. It seems to make sense. Yes, that brat should have a treasure on him. As long as we kill him, we can get it. Attack. Kill. These demon generals and elders were already used to obeying the orders of the sea race. At this moment, after being fooled by the third castle lord, they had completely forgotten who they were. Apart from the Thousand Hands demon general and the Fire Wolf demon general, the rest of them all pounced forward and besieged Ling Xiao to buy time for the great castle lord to recover. Fire Wolf? The Thousand Hands demon general looked at the Fire Wolf demon general and said, Brother Ling is in trouble. Should we help? Of course. The three of us are in the same boat. If he dies, the two of us won't be able to live either. The Fire Wolf demon general might be impulsive and reckless, but at the crucial moment he had great wisdom. All right, let's attack. The two of them made up their minds and were about to attack when they suddenly heard Ling Xiao's voice. The two of you don't have to attack. Just stand aside and watch. I alone am enough for this battle. Ling Xiao wanted the Thousand Hands demon general and the Fire Wolf demon general to witness his powerful strength. This way, it would be easier for them to cooperate in the future. The two of them were stunned for a moment before they slowly withdrew their true essences. Although they didn't know what Ling Xiao meant, based on their understanding of Ling Xiao, this person would never fight an unprepared battle. Since he didn't want them to attack, there must be a reason. With the second castle lord and the third castle lord leading the dozen or so experts with weapons in their hands, they surrounded Ling Xiao from all directions. The chaotic power gathered together and was extremely terrifying. The true essences rippled, and even their eyes could be seen hundreds of miles away. Everyone in the demon castle city could feel it. Ling Xiao looked at these people and couldn't help but show some disdain. He had never been afraid of fighting one against many. He raised the Overflow Rain Sword. This treasured sword of the precious grade had its own special skill, Rotting Sword Rain. Moreover, the stronger the sword owner was, the more powerful this skill would be. Now, coupled with the powerful killing intent released by Yi Guxin's martial soul, even Ling Xiao himself wasn't very clear on how terrifying its power was. Chapter 655. Massacre, Decaying Sword Rain. Whoosh! Torrential rain poured down. Upon closer inspection, one could see that they were tiny short swords. Upon closer inspection, one could sense that each of the short swords was filled with terrifying killing intent. The dense sword qi poured down like a torrential rain, enveloping all the enemies within a radius of dozens of meters. However, due to the control of his will, he was able to avoid the Thousand Hands demon general and the Fire Wolf demon general. Chi, 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 chi. The sword chi that contained the terrifying killing intent was almost invincible and indestructible. Wherever it landed, it would rot and decay. As for the people standing there, they were also powerless in front of this terrifying sword intent, and they fell to the ground one after another, unable to get up. At this time, any protective true essence or defensive magic treasures were meaningless. As long as they were not as strong as Ling Xiao, there was only one outcome: defeat. In an instant. It was not even a blink of an eye. The number of people who charged forward was the same as the number of people who fell. These people were all heavily injured and could not get up. Their faces were filled with fear and regret. Ling Xiao kept the overflow rain sword because there was no need to continue attacking. The extraordinary swordsman swung his saber, and these people were all turned into ghosts under his saber. Broken limbs flew all over the place. They did not even have the chance to beg for mercy or escape. Ling Xiao was never a merciful person. If someone wanted to kill him, he would only retaliate with 10 or 100 times the strength. He would not give the other party any chance. The Thousand Hands Demon General and the Fire Wolf Demon General were dumbfounded. The two of them even wanted to help just now. There was no need for that at all. All of a sudden, they caught a glimpse of a figure flying through the air. "Brother Ling, the Grand Castle Lord is escaping." The Thousand Hands Demon General shouted. "He can't escape." Ling Xiao sneered. The 36 celestial dipper swords flew out from his back and caught up with the Grand Castle Lord at an extremely fast speed. Then, the Grand Castle Lord's body was pierced like a beehive. There were 36 eyes of various sizes. Not one more, not one less. Bang! The Grand Castle Lord fell dozens of meters away, like a dead dog. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and kept the Heaven Dipper flying sword before walking towards the Great Castle Lord's corpse. After searching for a while, he found 3 things on the Great Castle Lord's corpse: precious grade artifact, emerald water, trident tortoiseshell heart protection, mirror. There was also a storage ring. Ling Xiao didn't care about the turtle water trident and the tortoiseshell breastplate. What he cared more about was the heart of the ocean inlaid on them. "Brother Ling, this heart of the ocean can only be inlaid and plucked by the gemsmiths of the sea race. It's a pity that the sea race here have all moved away. Otherwise, we would be able to pluck it." As soon as the Thousand Hands Devil General finished speaking, he was dumbfounded. This was because Ling Xiao had already taken the 2 hearts of the ocean. Of the 2 ocean's hearts, one was of the water attribute and the other was of the earth attribute. They corresponded to artifacts. In other words, treasure-level treasures could be embedded, but treasure-level treasures and above couldn't be used. It was too easy for him to remove the heart of the ocean. His mountain and river marshal soul just casually analyzed it and knew how to pluck and inlay it. He didn't need any gemsmiths at all. Ling Xiao embedded the water attribute, heart of the ocean, into the overflowing rain sword. This way, the precious grade overflowing rain sword's power would be increased by nearly 2 times. Moreover, its toughness and sharpness wouldn't be far from the immortal grade artifact. There was a huge difference between an inlaid gem and an uninlaid gem. As for the other heart of the ocean, he re-inlaid it on the tortoiseshell breastplate. In any case, none of the weapons could be used. If the attributes were wrong, not only would it not increase the attack, it would also affect it. However, the tortoiseshell breastplate was quite good for increasing the defense. Ling Xiao had carefully studied the market of treasures before. At least in the world of sex, the value of defensive treasures was definitely higher than the value of offensive and auxiliary treasures. The reason was very simple. If you lost your life, then everything was meaningless. A single treasure artifact, level defensive artifact, was enough to make Transcendent Realm cultivators fight to the death for it, not to mention a defensive treasure inlaid with the heart of the ocean. Even a cultivator who had just entered the Heaven Realm would crazily fight for it. Even if a Transcendent Realm cultivator had such a treasure, they wouldn't dare to make it public because, with their strength, they wouldn't be able to keep it. Ling Xiao having such a treasure could be said to have an extra life. After all, the opponents he was facing were getting stronger and stronger. An extra layer of protection meant less danger. After dealing with the 2 hearts of the ocean, Ling Xiao checked the Great Castle Lord's storage ring. This guy's storage ring was really rich. There were actually 1 million low-grade spirit stones, 100,000 medium-grade spirit stones, There were even dozens of high-grade spirit stones. Ling Xiao still couldn't use high-grade spirit stones because his cultivation wasn't high enough. He couldn't directly absorb world energy from high-grade spirit stones. Probably even a heaven realm cultivator couldn't do it. Maybe he would have to reach the grotto heaven realm or even the yin-yang realm. But medium-grade spirit stones were different. For Ling Xiao, they were what he needed the most for his current cultivation. He didn't expect to obtain 100,000 of them at once. This should be enough for him to advance from the early 9th layer transcendent realm to the half-step heavenly venerable realm. But if he wanted to advance further, it wasn't enough. He had to continue looking for more. The second castle lord, third castle lord, and the other demon generals and elders also had low-grade and medium-grade spirit stones in their storage rings. But there were more low-grade spirit stones, about 1 million in total, about the same as the great castle lord. There were too few medium-grade spirit stones. These people only had 10,000 in total, which was only 1/10 of the great castle lord's medium-grade spirit stones. Of course, in addition to spirit stones, these people's storage rings also had a lot of weapons and martial arts secret manuals. But most of them didn't catch his eye, and he didn't need them. The only jade-grade entry-grade martial art was the movement technique, dragonfish transformation. Ling Xiao looked at it carefully and felt that dragonfish transformation was similar to golden dragon wings. The latter was a movement technique for flying. The former was a movement technique for diving into the deep sea. He could integrate dragonfish transformation into cloud dragon divine journey. In this way, he would be able to fly into the sky and dive into the sea. There was nothing he couldn't do. In the blink of an eye, another day had passed. At this time, Demon Fortress City had undergone earth-shattering changes. Originally, only the great castle lord could control the transmission array, but Ling Xiao had completely comprehended it. As a result, most of the humans who were imprisoned or trapped in Demon Fortress City chose to leave. The Thousand Hands Demon General, Fire Wolf Demon General, and Tuyan's family all went to the Divine Sword Sect under Ling Xiao's arrangements. Of course, there were also many people who chose to stay. They had already adapted to life here and felt that they didn't need to be affected by the secular world. More importantly, now that there were no castle lords, demon generals, or elders, they could control their own destiny. Chapter 656. On Whale Island, Ling Xiao's figure disappeared in a flash. Moments later, Whale Island was smashed into smithereens and sunk into the sea. Only the Whale Island master was dragged to the shore by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with a strange fluctuation. Not only had he grasped Yi Guxian's will of massacre, the ancient destruction god and ancient hell dragons will of destruction, and the mountain river martial soul's mountain river martial soul, he had also learned the Lanternfish clan's soul manipulation secret technique, what was also a manifestation of soul power, and the soul manipulation secret technique was the manipulation and use of soul power. Ling Xiao was able to grasp these three martial soul wills so quickly because of the Lanternfish clan's martial soul secret technique. The more he understood his own soul, the more surprised Ling Xiao was. That was because he discovered that after fusing with the mountain river martial soul and awakening the ancient golden dragon, there was a hidden corner in the depths of his spiritual sea. The terrifying soul power hidden in this corner was 100 times stronger than his current soul power. It was a pity that he couldn't fully utilize it with his current strength. He didn't discover it because he didn't have a deep understanding of soul power. Now that he had discovered it, he could begin to extract the soul power hidden in this corner. He believed that this would be very beneficial to his future development. It might even become a huge trump card for him. Humph, lowly human, since you've already seen through my identity, then kill me if you want. Don't think that we, the powerful sea race, will be afraid. Sooner or later, my kind will avenge me. Whale Island Master finally understood that Ling Xiao knew his true identity. This guy didn't beg for mercy and was rather unyielding. Is that so? Now kneel down and answer my question. Strange inscriptions flickered in Ling Xiao's eyes. Then, under the control of the soul manipulation secret technique, the powerful mountain river Martial Soul entered Whale Island Master's spiritual sea. He just stood there with his hands behind his back. His black hair fluttered in the wind, but the color of his eyes was a little strange. It was deep and vast, as if it could suck in the souls of others. Whale Island Master was originally very unyielding. He kept saying that he would kill if he wanted to, but at this moment his eyes suddenly glazed over. Then he obediently knelt on the ground like an obedient puppet. It really works. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Although he had only skimmed through the soul manipulation secret art, he had already grasped many of the tricks of manipulating soul power. Using the suppression of the mountain river to control a person's mind was one of them. It was only his first attempt, and he didn't expect to succeed. Yes. Whale Island Master nodded. He didn't seem to have the slightest ability to resist Ling Xiao's words. Even if Ling Xiao asked him to die, he would not hesitate to end his own life. Very good. Ling Xiao smiled and asked, Are you from the Storm Legion? Yes. Whale Island Master answered without any hesitation. This matter was actually a secret to the Sea Race. After their Storm Legion was established, they had always been operating in secret. Not only did they target the Heavenly Dragon Continent, but they also targeted the Divine Phoenix Continent and the other 12 continents. Ling Xiao had asked about this matter in detail. Unfortunately, Whale Island Master was only a small character and didn't know enough details. But even so, this information was very important. One had to know that the Storm Ocean occupied 70% of the Mystic World's surface area. It was much larger than the continents. Moreover, the Heavenly Dragon Continent and the Heaven's Chosen Gate were all within the Storm Ocean's range. According to historical records, the Mystic World was a square continent that was enveloped by a spherical barrier formed by the Mystic World's laws. But no one knew what was outside the Mystic World's laws because those who left the Mystic World had never returned. After that, Ling Xiao asked a few more questions related to the Sea Race. Finally, he came to a conclusion. Currently, the Sea Race's infiltration of humans had reached a very serious level. He didn't know about the other continents, and neither did Whale Island Master. However, on the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the ninja race had completely surrendered to the Sea Race. The Blue Eyes race had also become the Sea Race's frontline base. The Barbarian race also had a base for the Sea Race, but it wasn't as big as the Blue Eyes races. As for the Sacred Dynasty, the 12 sects, including the Yuehua School, all had higher-ups who had surrendered or been controlled by the Sea Race. But it was a pity that this information was very confidential, and Whale Island Master couldn't possibly know about it. Do you know where that Su Dao went? Ling Xiao asked one last question. He's dead, Whale Island Master replied. When you sunk Whale Island just now, he also died. Ling Xiao nodded. Although he couldn't be sure that Su Dao was really dead, he guessed that it wasn't far off. It's about time. Ling Xiao stored Whale Island Master into his beast ring. He was going to bring him back to the sect and hand him over to Wu Xiang to deal with. After all, this was a living member of the Sea Race. It was also proof of Ling Xiao's words. 2 hours later, Divine Sword Sect, Great Master Baiyun's bedroom. How is it? Is Bai Feifei willing to acknowledge you as her father? Ling Xiao definitely wanted to meet Great Master Baiyun before he left. Sigh, that girl was really ruined by the flame deity. Her head is filled with all kinds of nonsense. If I want her to change, I can only do it slowly. Great Master Baiyun sighed, but soon he became happy again. Let's not talk about her. You, on the other hand, really surprised this old man. Back then, I actually didn't want to bring you to the Yuehua school because your talent wasn't enough. Now, it seems that I was extremely stupid. He still clearly remembered that the last time Ling Xiao returned to the Divine Sword Sect, he was still an outer disciple of the Yuehua school. But this time he was already a core disciple, and his status was equal to that of an inner elder. He didn't even think about such a situation. He still remembered that when he sent Ling Xiao, Dai Yuling, and Cold Plum to the Yuehua school, his only hope was that one of the three of them could become a disciple of the Yuehua school. He didn't dare to think about anything else. But now, Ling Xiao was actually the strongest disciple of the Yuehua school. Dai Yuling was also ranked 5th among the core disciples. The only one who didn't have any news was Cold Plum. Cold Plum is fine. I can confirm this. After I advance to the celestial realm, I'll go and find her. The stronger Ling Xiao was, the clearer he could sense Cold Plum. He knew that Cold Plum was in the valley of the Yuehua school, but with his current cultivation, he really wasn't qualified to enter that place. But fortunately, Cold Plum was not dead. That was enough. It's good that she's fine. By the way, why did you leave for so long this time? Did something happen? Great Master Baiyun asked doubtfully. Have you heard of the Sea Clan? Ling Xiao asked. No. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.